Yeah, I did sneeze. It's funny. I sneezed and I looked down. I thought it was my mic on, and yeah, it was live. Man, feel good after you sneeze and you just feel good. I feel pretty good now. How is everybody? I hope you had a great weekend. Busy over here. What a great week we have on the show. Oh man. And then, of course, after we get through this week, tonight, Christine Contini is here. But tomorrow night, Chris Medina. It's the week of Chris's, right? Tomorrow night, Chris Medina. And we'll be taking your phone calls all night long. One question, one answer. Wednesday night, Disclosure Fest. And we're going to have Adrian Valera in here, who is the co-founder and producer of the event, along with David Wilcock and Corey Good and Emery Smith, who are all going to be at Disclosure Fest. And so there you go. That's our week. It's going to be amazing. And then Thursday night will be Fader Night and John Rappaport, of course. And then we roll straight over to Disclosure Fest, which is here in Los Angeles. And if you are in L.A., you definitely want to go to this event because it's free. First off, it's huge. Second, three, it's in downtown L.A. Every speaker that you want to go and check out is going to be there. We're going to do a mass meditation, music. It's just going to be great. It's going to be a fantastic event, and it's totally free. All you got to do is go to disclosurefest.org and register, and you get free tickets. So we'll see everybody down there on Saturday. And with that, I go live here in 5 seconds. So I'll see you guys. Enjoy the show. It's going to be great.
Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Big day today. It's Monday, June 18th, 2018. 168 days into the new year. Just 197 days left. As always, we are live from a bunker somewhere in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right, what a week. What a week we have coming up on Fade to Black. Tonight, Christina Contini is here. And we are going to talk about her trips beyond the veil to the other side. Yes, and she will be teaching and speaking up at Soul Tech, Mount Adams. And that's coming up in August, and she will be up there. And tonight, first time on the show with us tonight. Very excited about this. And so get ready for a very dynamic conversation. And I know that tonight everybody is going to learn something, and that's what we are here for. Tomorrow night, Chris Medina, the one and only Chris Medina, is back with us. And yep, we're going to be taking your phone calls tomorrow night. And you know the rules, and I'm just going to lay it out now. I'm going to do it again tomorrow night. One question, one answer, in and out. It's going to be a busy night on the phones tomorrow night. So get in early, and tomorrow night, Chris Medina is here. Very, very excited about this. It's been a while, right? It's amazing how, a year just, gone, right? Chris Medina is back with us tomorrow night. And then Wednesday night, we got a big blowout special event. Disclosure Fest is happening this Saturday here in downtown Los Angeles, California. More on that in just a bit. But Wednesday night, Adrian Valera is going to be here. He's co-founder of Disclosure Fest and the producer of the event. It's a huge event. And so to kick things off, Wednesday night, we will have David Wilcock, Corey Good, and Emery Smith, all three here with us on Fade to Black to talk about what they are going to present at Disclosure Fest, where we are with Disclosure today, and, of course, the mass meditation that we are going to be doing right in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. Okay, so that will be Wednesday night. Thursday is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines all night long. Okay, now, on Stellar, the place to be. You can friend me, follow us, all of our pages over at OnStellar, onstellar.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Facebook, we're sort of hanging out. I'm not accepting friend requests or anything like that, but you can certainly follow our radio page over there. At Facebook, and we will continue to update that until the full transition is completed over at OnStellar. And, of course, YouTube, which is back up and at 'em. But over at OnStellar, once again, the video channels are going to be happening very soon. There are a bunch of updates that are going to be happening over at OnStellar over the next few days. The thing that changes, oh, man. See, this is the thing. There's some bug fixes. Of course, you can expect that, and those happen all the time. But these next changes are additions. I was talking to Scott and Desh today over at OnStellar, and they said, man, it's revolutionary. These aren't evolutionary changes. These are revolutionary changes. OnStellar, getting their taste of our little community here because they were at Contact in the Desert. They just spent the weekend over at Alien Con, and this weekend they're going to be at Disclosure Fest too as well. They're going to have a booth there. So They're getting a little taste of what our community is like. And you can go register now on stellar.com, ONSTELLAR.com, and use my referral code if you want some bonus tokens. 15 bonus tokens, actually. Jimmy is the promo code. Okay, go and register today. I spent so much time over at OnStellar today reading articles and hanging out. And I was talking to Nori today. He was hanging out at OnStellar. Yeah. And it's funny. He goes, hey man, you know, I'm making friends. I'm accepting friend requests. I said, man, good for you. Good for you, George. So he's over there hanging out at OnStellar. Come and join all of us on stellar.com. And tonight, you can always hang out with us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, hashtag F2B. That is our little slice of Twitter that we call the sandbox. Hashtag F2B, and come and join us. And if you don't have it yet, get TweetDeck. And I can see, and just get a hashtag F2B column going and use TweetDeck. There is going to be some pretty cool features that are going to be added to OnStellar. So what do we do? What do we do? What do we do with those 60,000 YouTube subscribers? What do we do with these Twitter followers? Well, you know, you guys got to head over to OnStellar, because pretty soon that's going to be the one-stop shop for everything for us. Chat rooms, a Twitter type. We need like what we're doing here in TweetDeck. If we could get TweetDeck into OnStellar, right? Wink, wink, right? Something like that. Wink, wink. But cooler, but the same thing, right? That's right. You've got to get over to OnStellar. Everybody else is over there but you. So just get over there and get registered. Okay? It's totally free, totally cool, totally safe. No censorship, no data mining, no advertising. You got to go and experience it, and then you'll get it. All right, where am I at? You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Okay, got to hit this River Moon coffee. I love commercials. I will do a live read. If there is a product that I believe in, they call it live read in radio, when you just, it's not a commercial. You just say something into the microphone. Let me just say this. River Moon Coffee, the absolute best coffee on planet Earth. There's nothing better. I am not kidding. Oh, man. That's really good. That's good coffee. Because I needed that hit. I needed that River Moon fix before these next words come out of my mouth. Today, President Trump called for the immediate formation of a sixth branch to the U.S. military called the Space Force. That's right. Big news all over mass media. What this really means, I'll get to all of that in just a bit. But this is about the biggest news. This is the biggest news of Trump's presidency. This is huge. 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 There you go. Yes. Yes, Rita, I am here. She wants to know if I'm reading her text coming into me. Yes, Rita, I'm here. I can't reach. If you want me to reach over, I can type it, but it's better if I just say it. Yeah, I'm here. But yeah, the biggest news of his presidency. Yeah. That's a big play. All right, I'll get to all of that in just a second. And over at OnStellar, I posted an article today as I prepped my show notes, and I sat back after prepping my show notes, and I went, you know what? I'm just going to post this over at OnStellar. So I just grabbed my show notes and copied and pasted it into an article and posted it over at OnStellar. So if you read it over at OnStellar today, and then you're going to hear me go through my show notes and read it tonight, I think you're going to get my vibe. You're going to get my vibe. Our next event is coming up this Saturday. I just talked about it in the opening of the show, Disclosure Fest. It's this Saturday, June 23rd. It's at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles. Just go to, it's a totally free event. Just go to disclosurefest.org. Okay, I just mentioned Onsteller is going to be there. Vendors, food, speakers, yoga, sound healing, a sound dome, music, 2 main stages, speakers, presentations, totally free. Go to disclosurefest.org. Film festival. I think I'm going to host a panel that afternoon, too, as well, with Corey Good and Emery Smith and David Wilcock as they do a preview of their new documentary, which is going to do its premiere at Disclosure Fest. So if you're in Los Angeles, anywhere in Southern California, Disclosure Fest, that's where you want to be this Saturday. Again, just go to disclosurefest.org, register, and you get your free tickets. There you go. All right, 35 acres downtown Los Angeles, right next to Chinatown. Totally cool. And then, don't forget, we have just got a couple of dozen tickets left. I got the word today. Soul Tech, which is up at ECETI Ranch, this August 9th through the 12th. Go to soultechgathering.com, and we're going to be teaching. This is a teaching event. Okay, we're going to be teaching. We've got 5 classrooms. Now, along with all of the teaching that is going on, yes, we're going to have some presentations. There is the main conference center there. We will be doing that. I am going to have all of the speakers up on stage, and we will be doing a Q&A with everybody. But we're going to have a party on Sunday night. We've got food trucks coming in. We've got sky watching every night and all of the other magic that goes down at ECETI. This is going to be a very unique, singular type of event. This isn't a conference. This is a gathering where we will be teaching. So come and hang out with all of us up there, soultechgathering.com. We have James Gilliland, Jason Quitt, Matthew Ryan, Michaela Sheldon, Teresa Yanaris, Holly Marie, Mary Gabrielle, John Lund, Dana Harvey, Billy Carlson, Laura Cantu, and tonight's guest, Christine Contini, all there at the Soul Tech Gathering. Then a week later, I jump on a plane and I head out to Loveland, Colorado for Dimensions of Disclosure, August 17th through the 19th. And Corey Good's going to be there, David Wilcock, Emery Smith, Teresa Yanaris, Gerald O'Donnell, and over 20 other speakers and presenters. Tickets and info, dimensionsofdisclosure.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 870 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android, just $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner. And don't forget, you can also become a Fadernaut. You can become an official Fadernaut. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com, and you'll get the bunker cam. You can also get commercial-free downloadable archives. And if you go all the way up to the Game Changer, you even get that famous Fade to Black gear. You get the autographed hat and T-shirt, and you get a private email to me, all of that over in our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. All of our sponsors are great here. They have been with us for a very long time. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, and Numana Food Storage and Bearing Optics. Okay, so visit all of our sponsors. All of the promo codes are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get the show cracking. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Happy birthday to today. Paul McCartney is 76. Isabella Rossellini is 66. Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, and also the #1 movie in the world right now, Incredibles 2. She has the character of the mayor. Yeah, in Incredibles 2. Rita and I went to go see this weekend. We went to try and go see Avengers Infinity War. Couldn't get parking. Couldn't. Kind of got bummed out about that. Gave up. And I guess we're just going to have to wait till it comes out. And I think it was because of Incredibles 2. I mean, there was literally no parking. Not a parking spot. Went all the way up to the roof. It's like everybody's turning around. It was hilarious, man. I really wanted to see Infinity War. Has anybody checked that out, by the way? I heard it was really, really, really good. Disney, Marvel, cranking it out, man. Wow. All right. On this day in history, 1983, from Cape Canaveral, Florida, the Space Shuttle Challenger is launched into space on its second mission. But aboard the shuttle was one Dr. Sally Ride, who, as a mission specialist, became the first American woman to travel into space on this day in 1983. Now, Fader fact. Here you go. Here you go. Oh, is this right, Kelly? Really? Oh, man, that's so cool. So Jax is going to be going to Soul Tech, and he's going to be celebrating his 12th birthday at Soul Tech. I see a birthday cake in Jax's future. It's one of my favorite pictures of all time. Right there, Jax riding his bike with his Fade to Black shirt on. So cool. All right, well, we'll see you guys there. That's a great picture. Fader fact. Some things you just can't make up. You ready? Okay, here we go. In 2011, a woman bought a non-visible, air quotes, air quotes, piece of art for $10,000. The gallery/museum that sold her this non-visible, invisible piece of art for $10,000 said this, and I quote, "Although the artworks themselves are not visible, the descriptions open our eyes to a parallel world built by images and words. This world is not visible, but it is real, perhaps more real than the world of matter, and it is also for sale." End quote. Man. How do you buy a piece of art that you can't see for $10,000? How do you get convinced to part with 10,000 large? Right? And it's so funny because I read another quote as I put this Fader fact together today. And the quote was, "You have bought air, fresh air from this studio that you can breathe anywhere in this world." and it's art. And I'm just... Anyway, that's a Fader fact. Really happened 2011. There you go. Tonight, very special guest, Christine Contini is here. Yes, and tonight we're going to talk about her trips beyond the veil. I cannot wait for this conversation. Tomorrow night, Chris Medina, psychic, is back with us. We're going to be taking your phone calls all night long. Wednesday night, our Disclosure Fest special event with Adrian Valera, David Wilcock, Corey Good, and Emery Smith. Thursday night, Fader night, open lines all night long. John Rappaport's going to be here with his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Now, today, President Trump announced the formation of the Space Force. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's be clear on one thing. The military is the military. And there is no part of it that does not include weapons. That's what the military is for. So, after today, it appears that we have a very clear intent of putting weapons in space. I always thought that was kind of no man's land, right? This is not the Star Wars program of Ronald Reagan. This is much more than that. And I think we can all assume that Star Wars, in some form, was put in place. And it was put in place to do a couple of things. First, to shoot down any missiles, either with lasers from space to the ground, maybe while they are still in their silos or just after launch. There's that part. And And the other is to maybe take them out when they exit the atmosphere, right? Before re-entry. Tag them. Little projectile, right? Take them out. But the second reason, the ability for one of our satellites to take out another satellite. Okay? Makes sense. And I have to just imagine that is going on. You don't need a space force to do this. No, you don't. It would just be a black project with, NASA and JPL and Sandia and DARPA, whatever, and the Pentagon. And there you go. You just do it. And I'm fairly comfortable in thinking that this has been going on for a very long time. It's no big deal. I think all of us can assume that is going on in space. But for a space force to be brought up, this is a big deal. First, it's public. Second, it gets a budget. Third, we'll know about its personnel, its staffing needs. We'll know about its hardware and deployment. And fourth, its mission objectives. It's public. It's the sixth branch of our military. What are we really talking about here? Are we talking about manned space battle cruisers orbiting the Earth with missiles and cannons and pulse lasers? Plasma energy weapons? Technically, there is nothing up there but other satellites and the International Space Station, right? Right? That's what we've been told, right? There have been rumors for years about Russia having an armed space station up there. Yeah, guns, cannons. There's been that rumor for a long time. And I don't doubt that something like that exists. But before we get to the ET question, which is what everybody wants to talk about, is there something else that we don't know about? Right? Is there something else? Another space station from another country, like I just mentioned. Possibly armed, like I just mentioned. That's something to think about. How about China, Russia, India, the United Kingdom, France, having weaponized satellites? It makes sense, doesn't it? I would think that if you're a state player and you're firing satellites up into space and you go to war, and it could be a trade war, it could be economic, it could be anything, and you just wanted to, take out somebody else's satellite. Oh, sorry about that. Little drive-by, little collision, right? Just take somebody out. You would do it, right? A little gun. Pew. Doesn't take much to throw something out of orbit, put it spinning. It's done, right? Of course you would. And I'm okay with that because that's the obvious thing to do. The planning of this has gone on for a long time. The planning behind the Space Force, the need for a public Space Force comes from a very strategic set of information. What does Trump and the Pentagon know that we don't? They've been planning it. They've got charts and graphs and things, and they've just doesn't happen one day. What is the need for weapons in space? What is the need? I just stated the obvious. Satellites and missiles. Intercontinental ballistic missiles. Why the urgency? Weapons in space, and suddenly we got to get this done now. Why the urgency? He said today, the way that he was like, man, it's go time. So he signed it, Space Directive 3. So if we look at the obvious here, which is satellites, there's not much else to shoot at. There must be something so grave in nature that we have to spend piles of money that we don't have, on a Space Force. We have our schools in decline, our streets, our highways, our bridges, water, and electrical systems, all in need of a serious upgrade. But now we have to fund a space force. I think anyone hearing this, and I do mean anyone, would think of E.T. Is there an extraterrestrial threat that we don't know about? I wouldn't think that spending this kind of money for a just-in-case scenario doesn't make any sense. And getting this through Congress and the Senate without some kind of explanation would be next to impossible. This is big budget stuff of the fourth kind. And here's the kicker for me. The Space Force has probably been in place for a while now, and it can no longer be hidden. And the best way to move forward is to disclose it before someone leaks it. Think about it. The personnel, somebody working in the space program right now, the Space Force right now, could say something like, yeah, man, I've been on a 1-year deployment orbiting the Earth on a gunship hunting aliens. Now, the White House, the Pentagon, doesn't want this kind of information distribution. They need to control the narrative and stay out in front of it. Seriously, think about what I am saying. Weapons in space is nothing new, but going public with a Space Force certainly is. These are indeed the days of disclosure. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. It's going to be an amazing, dynamic conversation. Stay with us. We're going to talk about her trips, right? Beyond the veil to the other side. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter right now, @JChurchRadio. Get involved in the conversation on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be back with our guest, Christine Contini, right after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at getthetea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at getthetea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. Getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not
your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Matthew, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. How is everybody doing? Nothing like a Monday. Love it. Great week we've got coming up. Tomorrow night, Chris Medina's going to be here. Wednesday night, our Disclosure Fest special. Thursday night, Fader night, open lines all night long. Friday, we're taking off. Saturday, we're in downtown Los Angeles at Disclosure Fest. Tickets and info. Free tickets and info, disclosurefest.org. Tonight, it's Christine Contini. She had a massive heart attack without the hope of recovery. The doctors informed her family that she would live the remainder of her life in a vegetative state. The medical professionals are still baffled as to how Christine not only defied death, but came back to full consciousness and was able to work her way back to her divine health. Through her own pursuit of studies, she also completely freed herself from multiple sclerosis. Christine was raised Catholic and had no previous knowledge of the esoteric world. However, during the heart attack, Christine had a near-death experience which gave her access to the understanding of how energy works. Christine is a healer. She's a speaker, a teacher, and the author of Death, Awakening to Life. It is the first of 3 books in which she shares her amazing story and the knowledge she received after returning from beyond the veil. Some of her specialties include emotional repair, pain release, surgery support, and subconscious sublimation. Now, also, her primary methods are working with the etheric template, electromagnetic field, and clear channel wellness with body, mind, brain, and spirit connections. Her website is ChristineContini.com, and I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Christine Contini. Christine, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic. Boy, you're bubbly. Bubbly.
Awesome.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, three deaths. You've got all the reasons in the world to be as bubbly as you want to be. But it's your first time on the show. So you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way first. It's just you and me sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. You ready?
Ready. Love it.
One of the things, I'm going to start here. I mentioned in introducing you that you were raised Catholic. I sort of was. I was baptized Catholic. I don't know what happened after that. I don't have much of a memory of it. But no knowledge of our world, of our community. Was that because of your parents or your friends didn't talk about it? You didn't see anything on TV? You know what I mean? Was it just completely void of everything that you deal with today?
That's a very good question. So I live a very rated G life, and anything that deals with this kind of stuff normally isn't a rated G program. So even as a child that was never around me, my friends that I associated with, we did a little we thought, is it real? But we never really went any further than just ask, is that stuff real? And I saw a show when I was about 8 years old that said that ESP was real, and I got really excited about that. But at the end of the show, it said, but people of religion don't normally believe these things, that that's against most religions. And I asked my dad, is that true? And he said yes. And I was like, well, that's it. It's not for me then.
Wow. You know, yeah. And I always find that interesting before we move on. When we talk about some of these specific, historic, amazing, huge religious events throughout the past, they were all telepathy. They were all channeling. Right? I mean, it is so fascinating, but yet that when we talk about it today, well, no, but all of that older stuff is okay. Yeah, that really happened, but today, no. I find that fascinating, don't you? It's the same thing, right?
Yes, it is the same thing. That's what I realize now. I mean, you're talking to angels or you're talking to spirit guides, and your religion isn't against you believing in angels, but if you want to believe in ESP, well, now there's a problem. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, and now, if a child went to, her dad's a priest, right? No, is that possible? Priests can't be married, can they?
No, priests cannot be married.
They can't. So she goes to her uncle, who is a priest.
Okay.
And says, "Hey, I spoke to angels last night." No, you did not. It's kind of weird where that doctrine, that dogma blocks out the same thing, and it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. And it just doesn't sit right.
Right. It can be very difficult.
Now, so you were raised that way. And when we're going to go through your 3 deaths, and that just sounds weird to say, but we're going to go through those. And now, did you have a direct conflict in going through that with the way that you were brought up? And did you discuss it with your family?
I absolutely had a direct conflict with it, because everything that I had been raised to believe when I was there on the other side and I came back, I was like, this does not add up. And I'm very scientific and I'm very mathematical, and so it always has to add up. And when things didn't add up, my brain just started going click, click, click. Let's shut this stuff down. We can't handle it. And it took me a while to go back and open all of these things up. I couldn't even at first say for sure that I had a near-death experience. I kept saying, no, that wasn't real. That wasn't real. So it did definitely impact me. My family, though, has been amazing. They're all open to it. Nobody's been like, oh, you're crazy, Christine, which you might have thought. And I've had a very good experience every time I've shared any part of my story.
What happened? You had a heart attack. And that was the first one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a heart attack. And by the way, I want the audience to know I have met Christine. I spent a couple of days with her. And knowing your background now and what I know about you, I would have never thought that you went through this, because, when we're talking about multiple sclerosis or dying and all of these things, you would expect something. Is expect the wrong word? In that your eyes are bright and wide open and full of everything, but you don't have to be that way. I mean, you've got
I get it. Because you would expect some kind of debilitation because of the suffering I've been through and all the complications that you have with death and with severe diseases. I get it.
Yes, and it's you're just amazing. You're amazing. So okay, so let's go back. How old were you when you had the heart attack?
Let's see. It's always hard to remember numbers. I have it in the book for that reason, that I don't have to think about it. But I think I was 38.
That's pretty young.
Yeah, it was. They were very surprised, and even when I came back, seeing doctors afterwards for follow-ups and everything that I had to go through to make sure that my heart was good, they were all like, "You're very young. This is very serious."
So 38. As this heart attack is happening, you probably. I want you to answer, but I would think if I was 38 having a heart attack, I wouldn't think I was having a heart attack. I would think it was something else.
Right. I had no clue at all. And it's interesting when I look back at it, that I can see, oh, okay, so that was hypoxia. That's why I was walking around acting like I was drunk, because there was no oxygen getting to my brain. And I was playing a card game with the kids, and it should have gave it away, because I was putting down all the wrong cards. We were playing, what did you call it? It had skips in it. I can't remember the name of it right now. But I was trying to skip the next person because I knew they were going to win. And I kept putting the skip down, but it wasn't the right card to be playing. And my kids are just laughing at me, thinking it's funny. And it just didn't make any sense that anything was wrong, because when you don't have the oxygen going to your brain, you can't even think that way.
Well, I have that problem all day long, but that's it's another story altogether. But yeah, and so you don't realize it, but they do, right?
Well, they did realize something was wrong, but like I said, they thought and this is interesting too. I don't know why they thought I was drunk because I didn't drink.
Right.
I hadn't had a drink in 15 years, and they thought I was drunk. It didn't make any sense.
Did they actually say it?
Not to me then. They said it after the fact that they told me that that's what they thought was going on.
I only laugh because that is a really funny story if you think about it. That is just,
Right?
Man. I hope they haven't stopped apologizing. Okay, so, right. So what happens next? I mean, this is at the card table. I mean, do you have the classic heart attack?
Nope, not at all. So I go back to the hotel because we were on vacation, by the way. We used to live up in Tahoe, and we were on vacation visiting family there. And we were playing cards at my brother's house. And then we went back to the hotel, and I started throwing up. And I'm just like, oh, this is awful. It must have been I must have ate too much. And I'm just throwing up. And my husband at the time got on the phone. He called our medical card because we're not where we belong. And he's like, something's wrong. It's more than that. And so this is really super interesting because, a lot of people, they have an idea that something's coming. Well, a few weeks before our vacation, we were out walking the dogs, and I kept looking over my shoulder saying, something's coming. I can really feel this. And that night we went home, and he started doing research on strokes and heart attacks. And there was no reason for that at all. But I'm forever grateful that he did because he knew how to save my life. He knew that these symptoms were something more than just me being sick because I had this pain across my back, and it's just different. Can't even give you all the details, but there's a lot of studies on this for people that need to get more information on it. And so here I am, I'm very sick, and I'm telling my daughter to get out of the room, and it's not something that I would normally do. I mean, I love my kids. I like to have them around, and I'm just screaming at her, which is not like me. And then he's on the phone, and they say, "Sir, your wife is having a heart attack." Now, that's another really interesting thing to me because anyone that's ever called their nurse helplines, they say, "Oh, you're fine. You just need to go to the doctor. We can't answer any questions on the phone." I mean, that's what they've always said in the past. So I was like, why is he even calling the nurse? And so it was extremely interesting to me that they could recognize just from what he said that I was having a heart attack. And so I just looked at him like, oh, okay. But I wasn't truly myself because, again, I'd been deprived of oxygen we're going on 45 minutes now, that it was just really, really depleted. And then so he said he's going to go tell the family what's going on. And my two sons had been born in the hospital up there, so we knew right where to go. He was too frazzled to call an ambulance, and I seemed to be okay, as far as like the throwing up was over, and I was in my pajamas, and I lost a pair of my shoes through all this ordeal that I still regret. I mean, think about it. There's my focus. My focus is on my feet. It's not on that, I might be dying right now.
Right, right.
So we're in the car, we're driving to the hospital, and I'm like, oh, the pain is coming back again. And I died right then in the car. And another interesting thing is his first feeling was to pull over and cry because his wife just died. And he knew exactly what that was. Because your body loses its ability to stay in the seat. It's like if you just pass out, you're still going to be sitting there. You might fall over a little bit, but you don't slide out of the seat. When you die, all of your muscle control leaves completely. So here I was sliding down the seat, and he's like, but then all of that research that he did for those 2 weeks prior to our trip kicked in, and he's like, oh no, this isn't happening. And he just started beating on my chest. And because you have 12 more minutes of oxygen in your blood when your heart stops pumping. And so he's beating on my chest, and he's like, just hang on. Gets me to the hospital. Nobody comes out to help because they're like, sir, your wife is dead. So he's like, no, you got to help her. So they did, they're supposed to help you. So they take you back there, and they're doing their best. And they shocked me 5 times. And it was on the 5th shock that they got a rhythm back. But they had no hope whatsoever.
Okay. Hold on a minute here. Pump the brakes. Let's put the car back in reverse here. You think to yourself, you say the pain is coming back, and then that's it, right?
That's all I have. That's the end of my memory.
Could you hear anything? I mean, everything else that is going on, were you in any way aware of what was going on?
Nope, completely dead.
So completely dead. So everything that you're telling us now is what you've been told was going on.
Correct.
Unbelievable. Okay. Do you have a general idea of how? I know you mentioned 12 minutes of oxygen left in the blood. From the moment that it was, I'm just going to be very uncouth. From the moment that it was lights out, when you said the pain, right? Mm-hmm. From that moment, and I apologize for being just insensitive about this, but from that moment, how long was it before you arrived at the hospital? Was it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes?
It was about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we had another 10 minutes before they came to get me out of the van and take me back. Because they came out with a wheelchair at first, and this is why they were like, "Well, sir, your wife's dead. What are we going to do with her in a wheelchair?" And so they had to go back and get a gurney and do all these things. And
oh man! So now we're dealing with the comedy of errors too, as well. And
yeah, that's the way it's been told to me. And again, I apologize to anybody that was there at the moment if they were actually doing their job well. This is just the story I've been told.
Wow, incredible. Okay, so they charge up. Right, and they hit you, and I think you said 5 times.
Yeah, so the fourth time they got a rhythm, but I lost it again. And in the state of California at the time, after the 5th shock, if you don't come back, they pronounce you dead. So here we were on the 5th shock, and I maintained a rhythm, but I was completely unresponsive. There was no reason for them to think that there was anything successful going on.
Okay. Now, when I want to talk about, we're going to get to in a second, what is going on while all of this is going on. But the 5th time they get a pulse, right? They get something. Did you immediately have memory at that point in real time? Nothing.
No, I can't remember. So this I don't remember at all, and but I'm going to tell you So one of the how do I want to say this? So I'll just tell you my husband's version of it, what happened. So I'm back there, and they come out to tell him, hey, your wife's unresponsive. And they're thinking he's going to know what that means. And he's like, well, I've got to see her. I've got to see her. And the whole time I'm back there, he's been praying, I want her alive, well, and healed. So I give a lot of credit to the power of prayer here.
Sure.
Because that's what his chant is. It's not just, hey, save her life, please don't let her die. It's, I want her alive, well, and healed. And he said he could feel the energy from his hands leaving his body, going through the wall to where I was at, because they wouldn't let him back there to see me at all. And they said to him, sir, we can't have you back there, but we have to take her. We're not equipped here to do what she needs, and we have to take her down to Carson Tahoe. And when the chopper comes to get her, then there's a little bit of gray there that we can let you go back. So that's what happened. They waited, and then they were doing the checklist. And, he said it was very relaxed, very quiet. Everybody's just doing the list, the flight checklist. And he comes over and he takes my hands. And he holds my hands and he whispers in my ear. He says, Christine, if you don't let them know you're in there, they're not going to help you. And that's the moment that everything changed.
So did you hear him?
I can't really remember because they put so much medication into me. Mm-hmm. My short-term memory just doesn't click. I don't have the actual memory of that.
Were you feeling pain?
I don't remember any part of this part.
Unbelievable.
After the surgery, I can answer all those questions. But for this section of my life, I don't have any memory.
And you don't have to. You get a pass card here, Christine.
Thank you very much.
At that point, did they stabilize you somewhat, or were you on, life support? Were they just keeping you alive?
I was on oxygen, no other life support, because they didn't think anything of it. I mean, my heart was beating on its own, so I was stabilized and just medicated. And as far as they'd given me a lot of stuff to try to bring me back. So that's all the medications that were in my body. And what happened was I opened my eyes, I took a deep breath, and then the chopper guy turns to the doctor and says, I thought you said, and the doctor says, I did. And it was just like, go, go, go. And then, boom, everything changed rapidly. And within 2 minutes, they had me on that chopper being taken to Carson Tahoe for emergency surgery.
Was your husband with you on the helicopter?
No, they wouldn't let him go. So I don't have a clue what happened on the helicopter. There's no firsthand story of anyone that has told me anything.
So your husband had the longest drive in history.
Right?
Unbelievable. So
yeah.
So you arrive in Carson, Tahoe. I'm not sure how many minutes away that is from where you are now. But
from a drive, it was only 30 minutes. But if you're waiting to get somewhere, he said it felt like 2 days.
I'm sure it did. And so straight from the helicopter to surgery?
Yes.
And what surgery was? Oh man, this is unbelievable.
Let me give you a little bit of story about this new hospital. They had just opened it. It's a cardiac hospital, and it's a lot of people in comas. It's a lot of people not well that have no other place to. This is where they're going for their last resort. This is where they save lives. And it just so happened that the day I arrive is the day that they have all the specialists in town for training. So the best of the best was there, ready for me. And they did an angioplasty, went through, and they put a stent in my left LAD and put me in a medical coma for a few days to try to help heal, because I had aspirated, so they needed my lungs to repair. But again, they were showing my family videos of how to take care of somebody in a vegetative state because they didn't believe anything was going to change.
Unbelievable. Now, through all of this, the operation and everything else, did you have anything come through? Did you hear anything?
Not that I can remember. The first time I heard something was when they were going to take out the intubation tube.
Right. And that was how many days later?
Three and a half, maybe. Yeah, 3 days.
Whew. Okay.
So that was my first sound. But seeing things prior to that, absolutely. I saw a lot of things. It was like videos playing in my head. Right.
And okay. So now we can kind of freeze frame here, and then we'll rewind a little bit. The first question that I have is, did anything happen visually for you during in the car? I'm just trying to be kind with my words here.
Don't be kind. I talk about it very casually. I mean, death. I'm all fine with all that. Okay. You don't have to work so hard.
Okay. So when you died in the car,
right,
in the van, was there anything visual? Did it start then?
Yes, I went to a place that I would now call the transportation station, and it was a bunch of different people kind of hanging out, mingling. It felt a lot like Disneyland, and I had to find my ride so I could get where I knew I needed to go.
And have you? I've got that right there is 100 questions, so I'll delay that for a second. Have you listened to others out there that have had, like Danny and Brinkley and others? I've had so many guests on the show. Their experiences, and was anything similar?
Actually, I haven't listened or read anyone else's experience, except for there was one book that was given to me after I got home, and her experience was more like my second death, not like my first. Now,
your second death. Oh, man. The experience of this, because you have not listened to others, you have only presented your side, your experience. Mm-hmm. Have you had others come up to you going, holy crap, Christine, same thing for me?
Yes, I have had some of those confirmations with other people that they say that, where the similarities are enough that they feel like it's the same experience.
Okay, now back to after you come out of your coma.
Oh, no, wait, there's more. Do you want the rest of the story about while I was dead?
No, I've got to hit a commercial break in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to come back and do all of that. I cannot wait. Now, my question is this, because this is what I went through. After you came out of your coma, did any of the nurses or the doctors tell you that you had died?
No, they weren't allowed to.
They're not allowed to. And I went through the same thing. A nurse came in and goes, Jimmy, you scared the crap out of us. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's the same. You scared the crap out of us. It was a lot of that. Yes.
Yes. And so you didn't have any clue, or did you?
No, I didn't, because my family, when they did start talking to me, they said you had a massive heart attack. You're fine now. And that was the whole story. Nobody said you died. It was confirmed to me because I started remembering all of these details. It was confirmed when I went back and looked at the medical records and then asked the doctor, can you explain to me what happened here? And they said, oh, you died.
Well, and I'm okay if they, I've got 1 minute here. Christine, if they said to you, even right after, you regained consciousness, but if they said to you, you know what, you died and came back, it was a little touch and go, would you be okay with that? And I mean, it enables you to go, oh, that explains it, right?
No, actually, what happened is I was pissed as hell when I found out that they saved my life, because for the majority of my life, I lived in deep, deep depression, and I was so hoping to die to be free of it. And to find out that they actually saved my life and kept me here, it was an awful experience.
Yeah, I've heard that many, many times. Let's take a break right here, Christine, and we'll pick up right where we left off, and we'll start with, I want to go back to the car. We're going to go back to the car. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. An amazing life's story. Now, her book is Death Awakening to Life. You can go to ChristineContini.com and check all of that out. More with Christine after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hello, I'm Contini, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest,
organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Life Change Tea. Use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R, right now. Go to lifechangetea.com. You will get free shipping on your order. They've got a really cool special going on right now. Life Change Tea, Super Strength Tea, and with 2 weeks of the tea. And you've got to go check it out. Go to the specials page right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. Rita just sent me, I'm not going to say who yet or what, sent me an image that one of our friends took. It is of a harbor, but it's just a harbor. It's a beautiful panoramic, scenic shot. In the background, in the clouds, the craziest triangle UFO I've seen in a long time. And so I want permission to post this. And Rita will probably get it up there first. But wow, that is an incredible shot. And I don't want to make everybody, Jimmy, but look, I got to get the permission to post this. So when we get that, we'll get it up. But you've got to see what I'm looking at here. It's absolutely incredible. Christine, Christine, really quick, ever seen a UFO?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. We'll discuss that later on in the show. I love it when it happens. I'm looking at this image here, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And I went into Rita's studio during the break. I was like, well, what's up with that? She goes, it's a triangle. I said, yes, it is. And then I found out who shot it. So out of respect, I just have to hold off. But wow, love it when that happens. All right, let's go back to the car.
Yes.
Let's go back to the car. At that moment, when it has it been explained to you that your heart it just stopped at that moment, right? Just
right.
Completely.
Well,
stopped.
actually, let me fix that. What happened is a different kind of heart attack where your heart is going so fast that there's no blood moving in your system.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not that there's no motion. The heart is going so fast that there's no blood, there's no oxygen. It's a technical death.
Unbelievable. Okay, so when you explained it, your muscles are done. That's it. You go completely limp and relaxed. And now you're almost like water, right? You just, down into the seat.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened at that point?
So back to the other side part. Is that where we're at?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking for my ride, and I'm excited, and I'm a little confused, but I'm still very excited. And I get into something that it would feel like you're getting on the Snow White ride at Disneyland, and the ride starts to go, and I'm thinking nobody's with me, and all the other cars are full of people, and I'm in my car all by myself, and I'm going on this ride, and I'm excited, and I feel that everything's moving, and then I start feeling these jerks. At the time, I didn't know what the jerks were. But later I realized they corresponded with them shocking me.
Sure.
And I remember when I felt the jerk, I was like, oh no, don't stop me. I want to go. I want to go. And after a while, the cart itself, I think it's a conscious overlay for us to understand what's happening. But after a while, that just fell away. And then I was in this tube. And I'm hitting things that I'm assuming is a wormhole now as I've learned more. And I'm going very fast. And it's turning and going in different directions. And then I get to a spot where it starts to slow down. And when it starts to slow down, I feel these people grabbing at me. And that's another thing that made me panic. I'm like, no, don't stop me. I want to get where I'm going.
Right.
And just when I was afraid that they were definitely going to stop me, it ended. And I came out on this white area and a platform. I'm just standing in this big white field. And then the sky starts to show a little bit of blue. And then before you know it, off in the distance, I see this haze coming towards me. And it just starts to form this person. And it's a lady, long dark hair, a gown on, kind of a bluish gown with an overlay, a darker overlay. Something that you might find on Little House on the Prairie a long time ago.
Was the field, when you say white, was it white grass? Or what do you mean white, like snow?
So I mean just like an open space, not actually field, not grass or snow. But what happened is I looked around. Again, things started to fill in. So I was suddenly on a dock instead of just on a white field.
Oh, gotcha.
So it became a dock under my feet like you would find next to the ocean.
Right. Got you. Like a dock. Well, could you see horizon, the sun? Could you see anything like that? What was off in the distance?
It was a different kind of blue, and I couldn't see a sun or anything, but there was a light source that made the blue more glowing.
Right.
And it was it's not even a blue I can find, because I've tried to find it in our colors here, and it just doesn't exist. And it's like you can see the air itself, even though there's no air there. I mean, I'm not breathing, but I do feel that I'm alive, and I do feel like I'm existing as me.
Could you see your hands, your feet?
It never even occurred to me to look around that way.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But I do know that I have limbs, because when the lady came over and hugged me, I hugged her back.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Actually, so in that moment, in the beginning moment, I didn't see any hands or feet. But when she hugged me and held me at a distance, then she had a hold of me, and I could feel her hands on me. So I know I had a form.
And did you recognize her? Was it somebody that you knew?
So it's not somebody that I consciously know at all. But there was a feeling of recognition, and it was the deepest love I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, this is my family. And I want to give a little bit of piece here that people understand how important this was, because I did everything for my family here on earth. I loved them with all of my heart, and my whole life was devoted to being a mom and taking care of my family. So for me to be somewhere else and feel a deeper love than I've ever experienced in my life, that's huge.
And so you were okay with this moment. You weren't panicking.
No, everything was very peaceful. I was quite pleased.
Did you know that you were dead?
No, I didn't know I was dead.
Oh, man. Would you have panicked if you knew that you were dead?
No, because remember, I've been spending my whole life hoping to get to heaven, right. And because I was miserable here, as far as like the depression and the chemical imbalances in my body that I couldn't understand, I was so happy that I felt good.
Was there a heaven moment here? Did you think you were in heaven? Was there a religious connection here from things that you had learned?
Yes. So when I did look at it later on, and I allowed myself to see without, because again, in the beginning, I wouldn't allow myself to see because of my religion and what I was supposed to see. This would probably be the gate, where you meet Peter at the gate, and he lets you in or not. This is what that would have been.
Did you get hit with a list?
No, what I got was I was so pleased to be there, and then she holds me at a distance with her hands, and then she waggles one finger back and forth at me like, no, no, no. And I was like, and it's interesting because I remember feeling like I took a deep breath, but there's no air there. So that part still, I can't quite understand all of the details, but I remember feeling the expansion of my energy in my chest. And then she just pushed me back, and I fell back through the hole and through the tunnel, and that's when I remember waking up.
And you weren't happy?
No, I was okay at first because I didn't realize what had happened.
Right.
It was probably the 5th day following the heart attack when my husband was talking about how he'd saved my life that's when I got pissed as hell because, I said, how could you? It's not like he didn't know I wanted to die. It's not like he didn't know my body was having such a hard time existing here. So it was and it's even more interesting that I didn't have a big experience where, like, I went and saw a big field, big adventure with my family. You hear people tell that, hey, I saw all these people over there. I didn't have anything like that. I just knew that where I was where I wanted to be. And then to be pushed back was very hard to deal with.
What about the life review? Did anything like that happen?
No. So this is my speculation now, because I followed a lot of deaths. So this is one of the things I do in my work, is I follow other people's deaths.
Sure.
For their family members and things, and we actually take notes, and we're doing a lot of research with this to get more and more details on death and how each death is experienced. I personally, in that moment, had no life review, and my conclusion after following all these deaths is there was no chance they were going to let me die.
Was there anything in your past that, at that point, that you were regretting? Did you have any regrets, or was there something that you feared might come up with that beautiful lady that approached you and said, "Hey, we have some issues here"?
Right? No, there was no fear at all.
Right.
There was no. So, like, this is the part that disagrees with what I was raised with. I'm expecting, if I look back at this now and say where I was, I'm expecting, well, maybe this is purgatory. Maybe I'm there for judgment and I have to go through this.
Right.
But there was nothing like that. There was only love, and there was only peace, and there was only freedom.
The background that you were talking about, with her coming from a distance, you saw a light. At that point, did she have human features? Was she human, if you know what I mean?
Yes. So when she became fully formed, she was human.
And anything unusual? Skin color, eyes, anything that stood out?
Oh, you would bring that up. So I have a conflict still in my brain where I keep having overlays where I'm imagining her as fully human. But as soon as I removed those overlays, her eyes were larger. They were all black. There was no eye definition like we would see. Her cheekbones were wider than her chin, so there was more of a triangle shape of her face. And I would have to say that her hands were not human either. But that's, again, I have this conscious overlay that's hard to break to be able to say for sure.
What do you mean?
So in the beginning, because I didn't trust my experience, my brain just went through and reorganized everything with details that it could handle. And so in my research, I've actually found this to be a very common thing, that our brains will reorganize things. I've been able to go back through meditation and find experiences that my brain has reorganized. We're working on this series, like I said, about the deaths that I follow. And the first one we're releasing of the One Light series is the death of my grandfather that I witnessed. And it goes into detail explaining how our brains will reorganize things and make it so that we can be okay with something that is just too big for us to handle. And this happens in other traumatic experiences. I didn't even think of this as a traumatic experience, but the brain just can't deal with it.
Now, when you were in the coma for those 3 or 4 days, did you have any visions then?
Oh, this is actually very interesting. So I'm in such a heavy medical-induced coma that I shouldn't be able to move or do anything, but I am. I'm banging. I'm asking for pencil and pen with sign language. I'm seeing all of this stuff, and I'm like, I need to get this down on paper, because I know how this works. When you have a dream, if you don't put it down on paper, you're not going to remember it later. And so I know that I'm watching this stuff, and I'm not dreaming. I'm awake in my head watching this stuff, and I want to record the Big Bang Theory. I want to record the stuff I saw in Egypt, and the rest of it, I can't even recall anymore. It's just gone. But I saw the history of everything.
Very interesting. And did you have any concept of time?
None.
When you came back, and I know that you were in a vegetative state, you were in a coma. When you came back, were you able to talk and communicate right away?
Yeah, after they took the intubation out, the reason they did is because I was communicating with my hands, and I was trying to pull the tube out. They ended up having to tie me down. Again, I shouldn't have been moving at all.
Right.
And that's when I heard the first sound, was when they reduced the medical coma, and then I finally could hear. And I heard them saying, okay, Christine, and they leaned me up, they took the tube out, and then suddenly I was so relieved in that moment, because again, I didn't know I died. But because I couldn't see with my physical eyes, and I couldn't move my body the way I wanted to, when they moved the medical coma off, I was very relieved, and I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me.
Were you surprised to know that it was only 4 days? Did you think it was longer or shorter, for that matter?
Again, I went from dying in the car to waking up. In that moment, my conscious brain did not allow me to know anything more than that it had been one single moment. I didn't have a clue about the experience. It reorganized so quickly that none of it made sense anymore.
Yeah, I went through something very similar. It was 4 days I was out, and I had no idea that it was 4 days. I didn't know if it was 4 years or 4 seconds. You know,
right, and that backs up the idea that time is something that we've created in our world. It's not, on the other side, and in other aspects of energy, time does not exist the way we experience it.
Now, Karen, she just tweeted, listening to you. This is a great question, actually. Did you find out who built the pyramids?
Actually, I do have quite a bit of information on that.
What happened?
And I've been, since then, I've gone back and energetically through time to be in that moment to see what was going on. Now, who built them, that was never something I thought to look for. I just wanted to know why they got destroyed.
And?
Oh, come on. I don't think we have time for that.
Oh, man. It's like that, huh? Okay, so now, let's...
It's a long story. It really totally is a detailed story.
Let's jump to... I'm going to be very correct. Let's go to death number 2.
Okay.
Only because we're going to combine all of this, and let's see if we can get this in before the bottom of the hour, and... so we can get to all of the other stuff. So, death number 2. What happened? Not what happened. How much time passed between this and death number 2?
So the first death was in September, and my second death was in January.
Of what year?
Oh gosh, it's written down. I don't do well with those kind of numbers. I can ask Laura to get the details on that if you want me to.
That's totally fine. Laura, go do your job.
He said, Laura, do your job.
Laura,
so she'll get us the dates. It's in the book. I had to look up on the medical records because I can't really keep track of dates anymore. Time is so different for me.
I totally get it. I'll let everybody know that's Laura Cantu in the background and hanging out. Okay, so... it was September, and then what was the next month?
Oh, actually, she's got the date for me right now. The first death was September of 2008, and then the second was January of 2009.
Okay, January 2009. Now that's, wow. Okay, so you barely had time to even get your head together from the first go around. What happened the second time?
I kept having these arrhythmias, and my heart was not stable, and it would just start racing, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I recognized that feeling. Because before I had it again, I couldn't even remember what it felt like to die. So I kept getting rushed to the emergency room, and then finally they admitted me and said, hey, we're going to figure out what's going on. And I'm normally the kind of person that's like, okay, but nothing invasive. I don't want anything that's going to make me be crippled later on, and I don't want any part in it. But they came to me and they said, hey, we want to do this invasive procedure. And I was like, okay, I'm in it. Let me. And it was so weird. It was like somebody else was talking for me, because that is not the answer I would have given. And I was so excited to have this invasive procedure. And what happened is they went in and they put a lead in to do the test on my heart to see, what was going on with the electric field and everything, and why was it I was having all these arrhythmias. And when they put the lead in, the very first little electric pulse is just to make sure the lead is in. And nothing ever goes wrong when that happens. But when they tested it, I died.
Just like that?
Just like that. So that's the second death. That's how it started.
Okay. Oh, man. Was it like the first time? I mean,
no, it was not at all like the first death.
No, what I mean by that is your heart just stopped, just like the first time.
Yes,
unbelievable.
That didn't happen the same.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. I don't know how to. I don't know how to think right now. These are very difficult thoughts to have. Okay, so you just done electric. The test happened. Boom, your heart stops. The same thing? You stopped hearing? Everything just...
No, this one was different. This one was really obvious, and I remembered every detail. So the first one, like I said, I had to allow myself to remember it. This one, I remembered immediately. So what I went from, they put me under, the countdown, and they put, because I'm completely under for this test. And I open my eyes, and I'm in a white space again, and this beast comes up, and he's in my face.
Beast.
And a beast, like in Beauty and the Beast, very much like that, horns and fangs, the whole bit.
Wow.
And he's like sniffing me, and he seems so huge. But what I realized later, again after following other deaths, is I'm just the size of a gnat. I'm just an energy part of myself out of my body, and I'm in this space, and he's evaluating what he's going to do for me. Now, later on, I learned how to do this work with other people here on Earth so that we can heal them. So this is very interesting that I had this death. And when he moves out of the way, I'm suddenly this pink humanoid giraffe. And a bunch of other humanoid animals run over to me, and they're super excited, and they're like, hey, we're going to a party. You're not going to be able to go with us, but we'll keep you company until it's time for you to go home. And actually, they didn't use the word home. They said, go back. And they took me through this path, and the path was just a big oval, but the scenery would keep changing. And I kept getting stopped and looking at different flowers, and it was super interesting to me because I would stare at them fascinated, these flowers. But what was actually being shown to me were geometric patterns. And this is the language I call geometrics, just because that's all it is a bunch of geometric patterns. But when you know this language and you apply it to the human form, you suddenly have an awareness that I've never experienced it any other way but by observing these geometric patterns. And I just know what they mean. I mean, I can't even put them in words. I just know what they mean, and I know what to do with them.
Have you ever drawn them?
I tried, but I cannot. So when I go into meditation to do the work, I can't pull them back. They always change before I can get them into my conscious thoughts. While I'm doing the work, they're very clear. I know exactly what they look like, and I wish I could. At some point, I want a 3D artist to help me.
You're sitting next to one right now.
I know, but she's busy. Oh, we don't have time. If we had time, we would have done that already for sure.
Laura, she's amazing. She's amazing at what she does. Because I want to see this. I do. I want to see what you're seeing here. That's absolutely.
It's definitely on our list. It's just not at the top yet because the other thing of healing the earth and making sure everybody lives is a little more important than just knowing what it looks like.
How long were you dead the second time?
Not very long, because they immediately went into trying to save my life and shocking me. And, I didn't even think to look at how many shocks there were until just now. This is the first time I've considered how many times did they shock me. But the guy who did save my life was super excited about it when they brought me to.
You think?
But I know, right? But I ended up having emergency surgery where they put a defibrillator in my chest to make sure that because they figured out what was wrong with the heart, to make sure I wouldn't die again.
So, do you still have the defibrillator?
I do. I do, and it records all the stuff that my heart does.
So, when you were sitting next to me a couple of months ago, you had your defib in.
Yes, and that's, we never even talked about why I had to sit next to you. I'd had some mold exposure, and I'm severely allergic to certain kinds of mold, and I was not well at the time because of the exposure.
Not. Well, you had told me a little bit. You said, can I say what you said to me?
Oh, sure, because I don't even remember what it was.
You said, I need to sit down. Is anybody sitting in this chair? And you pointed. Yes. And I said, no, go ahead. And you just sat down, and you were so happy.
I was, because my heart was racing, and I needed to sit down to get it under control. And if you said no about the chair, I was just going to be on the floor.
And I didn't know any of this. I'm such a doofus.
No. Like you said, it's not like it's obvious that there's anything wrong. It's just going on inside the body.
It was it was just one of those things that was meant to be.
I think so, because I don't think I would have stopped to talk to you necessarily, because I was focused on doing the convention workshops at the time.
Yeah, it was so great meeting you like that. Okay, now the other things that happened the first time, the lady, the white field, the dock, the seaside, any of that happen again?
No, completely different experience. Oh, but hey, I've got some information for you about this. So my second death is like what you experienced when you were out for those 4 days. It's that kind of thing. So let me explain to you what happens.
Okay.
When the body's going through certain kinds of trauma, we have 3 parts in the body that have brain activity. So we got the brain itself, we got the heart, and we have the gut, and they all have brain cells in them. And what will happen energetically is if there's panic, that they can actually disrupt our energetic field, the part of us that we call spirit, the part that lives on forever.
Sure.
And what happens is when there's trauma, we will just step out of our body so that we don't experience that trauma. And we go to these places, I now call them hold-on chambers. And we go to these places to be kept safe, basically, while everything else is going on with our body. And then when the coast is clear again, we go back.
Excuse me, I was drinking coffee, very rude. The other part, what about the ride? Did you get a chance to go back on the ride?
No, it wasn't a ride the second time either. It was a open your eyes and close your eyes kind of experience.
Right. So no wormhole.
No, but it was interesting when I was time to go back. I could feel them trying to revive me. And I was just very relaxed, kind of in a daze the whole time. It wasn't like the first time where I was fully conscious. This time I was very dazed. And they were just telling me, well, thanks for visiting with us, but you got to go back now. And I was just like, okay, like a 2-year-old would agree to do what they're told to do. And I was just like, okay. And then I was gone.
When you, we've got to take a break. Okay, I'll make this question quick. When you have this kind of experience, and we're going to get to the third death after the break, but when you have this kind of experience, I don't want to give people advice that there is nothing to fear, or anything like that, like it's okay. But do you fear death now?
No.
Yeah, very.
No, and you're, I know you can't give that advice, but I'll give it for you. There's nothing to fear.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, so many tragic things have happened lately, like with Bourdain, right? Where I don't want to project that. I don't want to put the wrong thoughts into people's heads, but I totally hear you. You put me at ease. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. We'll get to her third death right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi folks, what can I say without making claims? CBD is truly the buzzword for health. What does it do? Government institutions will not allow me to say what this wonderful oil does for us. But I can say it's non-GMO and organic. I can say it's 0.003 THC, which in plain English means you won't get high. There are those that want to squash your freedom to buy natural products. Fight back with your purchase power. In the end, it is you that takes care of your health. Go to ancientlifeoil.com. One more time, ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christina Contini. And this segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It's the best coffee in the world. It's dark and smoky. Just use that promo code F2B Blend. You'll get 15% off of your order today. Just click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, Christine, let's get as much in as we can before the top of the hour, because as if 1, 2, right, it wasn't enough, you had a third death. What happened?
Well, I kept being drawn back into my depression and not wanting to be here. And I think that's why I had to have 3 deaths, because the third one, I was just like fed up with this place. And I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't actually have the date on that one because it didn't occur to me to write it down. I didn't think it would ever be relevant, like I'd ever talk to anybody about it. But I was praying to be done with this place, and the angel of death showed up. And I was like, oh, this is really nice that he answered my prayer. And then my heart started going into an arrhythmia, and the feeling was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, I don't want to be here, not even for a second longer. And he put his hand into my chest, which was really interesting. Oh, hey, let me describe the angel of death, because I think that's something you might want to know.
Oh, yes. And was this at your home?
Yeah, it was in my home. I was laying in bed. And another interesting thing with all of these experiences is people tend to be pushed out of the space. So like when the angel of death showed up, my ex-husband should have been, well, he's ex now, but he should have been in bed next to me at that time. But he was kept out of the room. And later when he came back to the room, he's like, there was nothing I could do. I kept trying to wake up. I was asleep on the couch and I couldn't get up no matter how hard I tried. And that's interesting because this goes on all night. This is not just like a quick thing.
Right.
So he tried repeatedly all night long to wake up off the couch. And he says, it didn't really feel like I was asleep, but I still couldn't wake up. So very, very interesting. And there's this is a big, like smoky, burnt looking person. And the hands are very large, and the bones, the knuckles are very big compared to the bones between the length of the fingers. And there's these claw-like things on the end, and somewhat humanoid. I mean, it's still the shape of us, our torso. He's wearing a I forgot what they're called, but it's like a gown with a cap. You know, like in the pictures, the Grim Reaper. It's very much like that. But I don't see any bone. Everything looks like burnt flesh along his skeleton.
And did he walk? Did he?
No,
how did he
flew.
appear?
He flew right into my house, like if he just appeared in the space and then he was there.
Could you see his eyes?
And no, I don't remember eyes at all on this one. Because I was just, again, I was having an arrhythmia. I was trying to die. So my focus was more on the death part of myself.
Before we get back to that, why were you thinking these kinds of thoughts? Were you physically changed? Was there a reason why that you just wanted to go?
Yeah. So again, a lot of people know that this place is really hard to exist in, but I don't think they realize for somebody who's of a certain level of light body how very hard it is to exist here. So there's a lot of us walking around who have this feeling of, you know, I don't fit in. Nothing works the way it's supposed to. I'm sick all the time because of all the empathic stuff I'm picking up everywhere I walk. I'm miserable and I don't belong here. And that feeling I've had my entire life.
But you're so bright and full of life now.
No. Let me give you something. I was always bright and full of life. I've always known that it's important to be happy. I've always known that it's important to do your best. So I was always that. But the inside of me knew that this is a horrible, terrible, hard place to exist in. It's not that there's not joy. It's just the joy I know is bigger.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said that, you know, from the moment that we are born and we're here, when we are told, okay, this is life, now go out and succeed, and everybody else around you is going to try to succeed too, and you're going to be a victim at some point. And life is hard.
Yes.
Right? It's not easy. It's not easy. It may be easy for a very select few, but for everybody else on this planet, it's hard. It is really, really difficult.
And I was willing to work hard. I was never lazy about anything. I mean, I was only sleeping like 4 hours a night because I had my family, and I was doing everything I possibly could to make sure they had a great life.
Right. So, yeah, I know, right? So the angel of death is there. Mm-hmm. Do you guys communicate?
Now, he has a really strong presence, but no vocabulary. Which I've also experienced that with other entities where there's no vocabulary, and I'm not hearing telepathic words at that point from him. But what I did hear was off in the distance this voice, this really clear, crystal clear voice say, "But wait," and I'm thinking, "But wait for what? I'm about to die here. Leave me alone." And they're like, "But wait," and so I'm like, "Okay." And the angel of death respected whoever was talking to me because he stopped. Now he's still gripping my heart. I still feel the pain, you know, of the heart seizing, but he's not crushing it, which is what I was waiting for him to do. And so I think the "but wait" was for him more than it was for me. And they show me that if I just agree to stay, what life will be like. They told me, yeah, you can go. It's your choice. You know, nobody's trying to make me do anything. They're giving me my free will. They said, but if you stay, this is what will happen.
So they gave you a choice at that point.
Absolutely.
And to be clear, you invited the angel of death.
Absolutely. I was so pleased that he was there. I mean, I was more thrilled than anything else I can remember.
You know, there are people out there that would say that you're nuts.
I know, right?
Why would you do that?
I mean, who does that?
Who does that? Well, Christine Contini does it. Okay, so you have the but wait. You're given a decision. What did they? It sounds like a counter offer, right?
Right. Let me see if we can keep her here. What can we tell her that'll make her stay?
Well, so they made a counter offer. What was the counter offer?
In the moment, I saw it all, but then they took it back from me, and they said, "Now," because I agreed. I said, "Okay." I said, "If you can promise me this is real, I'll stay," because I wasn't staying for a maybe. There was no chance I was going to continue to suffer for a maybe.
Right.
And they said, "No, this is a fact. This will absolutely happen. If you stay here and you do the work, this will happen." And I was like, "Okay, I'll stay." And they're like, "Well, we don't want you to forget that you said you'd stay. So what we're going to do is we're going to make you beg for your life for the next 6 hours." And that's what I did. I spent the whole night begging to stay and be alive.
Okay.
While the angel of death is gripping my heart.
So this is interesting because you invited the angel of death there. The angel of death shows up. You are happy about that moment. They come back with a counter-offer. You beg for your life for 6 hours. How good was that counter-offer for you to change your mind?
It's huge. It's amazing. And for a while, I wasn't allowed to see any of it. So this is the thing that happens when you know what you know. If you will change your reality based on what you know, then the veil will block certain things so that you don't mess up your plan. So for a while, I didn't see anything. And then one day I was sitting working with some other healers, and this piercing pain came into my head. And they can see things. Other people can see things. I didn't know what was going on, but I could hear them talking, and they said, "Look at that light." And there's a light coming straight into my head. And it was so uncomfortable. And it turns out it was in the very same part of my brain that I use for telepathy. So this energy was coming down, beaming into my head. And I was just like, my jaw dropped open, and I could see what would happen in the medical field with the work that we were doing. And it was amazing. And this is the smallest piece that I've seen, what will happen in the medical field. So us saving lives and making these changes is huge. And there's more, but I think that's enough. If you want to talk about anything, that's a good place to start.
Yes, it is. It's a great place to start. And again, I can't imagine how significant of the voicing of, I'm calling it a counteroffer because that's exactly what it was. But for you to be in that moment, it overpowered where you actually wanted to go.
Right. And to me, that is huge too. And again, they made me beg because I kept dying because I wanted to not be here. And it's our choice. We can leave at any time if we truly mean it. And I did. I truly didn't want to be here. Now, you had stated that you were, you didn't have any concept of time, but you just said that you had 6 hours where you had to beg for your life. How did you know it was 6 hours? Okay, so when I woke up and I had said the prayer, it was 2:30 in the morning. And then at 9:30 in the morning was when it ended. And that's when my husband at the time was able to come back to the room finally. And how did you... I'm sorry. That's 7 hours, isn't it? I'm no good with math. Sorry about that. That's good enough. You get a pass card. Another one. So how were you begging? It was... I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just, please let me stay, and over and over and over. And then taking, each time I begged, they would take one more piece of the puzzle away from me so I couldn't see what I was begging for. Wow, that's interesting. What, the angel of death, was he there the entire time? He was there, and he, again, no words, just quiet, gripping my heart, ready to crush it. Wow. Which is how I would die. I'm assuming that's the final death. And this entire time, your husband couldn't get off the couch? Right. And nobody else came back there either. And, I have a busy house. I had 6 kids at the time. There was nobody coming in to do anything. And they always come through the house. So the next morning, you've changed. Yes. I mean, you've changed. Now you're a different Christine. Right, because I'm willing to stay. And I'm willing to fight the good fight. And did everything look different to you? Friends, family, your house, the world? Did it just look different? It didn't look different than I had already experienced, because after my first death, I experienced this level of understanding. Right. And all that happened is I had that level back again, which I kept losing it. So this time I had it back. Who did you talk to about this first, that next day? Nobody. Nobody. It didn't even... So this is interesting, and I think a lot of other people will have this same experience as well, is... This stuff is crazy. It didn't occur to me to say a word to anyone. So, well, actually, I did talk to my husband at the time. But again, oh, wait a minute. I forgot all these things. Let me tell you a couple more things that happened that will make sense. So I had this huge experience. I believe it's real. I'm thinking nobody's ever going to understand it. I go to my chiropractor to get an adjustment because, I was up begging all night for my life and my back hurt. And one of the ladies there, who's a massage therapist, was sent over to work on my muscles because everything was out of whack in my body suddenly. And when she touched me, she bounced back, and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, can you see it? Do you know? And she's a Wiccan, so she has this connection already. And she's like, I can't believe it. And that was the extent of what we talked about. But she knew everything I knew when she touched me.
That's fascinating. I've heard that before too, as well. In retrospect, certainly maybe even that first day, how do you know that it wasn't just a dream?
You actually have no proof that it's not a dream.
Right.
And what had to happen so that I would stay focused on the path was a lot of synchronicity. So people started walking up to me for no reason at all and just started telling me things like, I had a dream last night that you were on TV. And I'm like, why would you say that to me? And they're like, I had the dream and it was you and I saw you and you were in my dream and you were on TV and it was very important. I was like, oh, okay. And that went on for months so that I would just stay locked in that this is real.
How did the changes start to happen? Those puzzle pieces that we just spoke about. How did this start to reveal itself?
Well, I wanted to make a difference because that was, the whole point of me staying. And I started to accept that telepathy was real. I started to allow myself to hear things. I started practicing with my daughter. And it was very simple. The first time I was like, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm craving creamy chicken ramen. And I hate that. There's no chance I would eat that junk. So what's going on? And I called to my daughter because it was her favorite. I said, Sindel. Oh, sorry. I said her name. Sorry, honey. I said, my lovely daughter, are you thinking about eating chicken ramen right now? She's like, oh my God, I was just thinking how delicious it would be. And she said, can you make that for me, Mom? And I was like, absolutely. And that was the beginning of us practicing telepathy to get to the point that I can talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And so that's one of the pieces that fell into place that made everything easier.
Yeah, creamy chicken ramen's a good indication of telepathy. I mean, who would have thunk?
Right? Who would have thought? But we went on and literally practiced certain things. And I would say, I would hear her when she was at school and I would write things down and I would ask her, hey, and she started writing them down too and confirming with me, yeah, absolutely. Or she would know, like, I was in this class and I had this thought, Mom. And I'd say, that was the thought I had and this is the time I had it. And she said, yep, that's the time I have that class. And there was one, like, I wasn't supposed to get it from school and I got the message, Mom, I need you to pick me up from school, but I have no way to get a hold of you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll meet you at school then. And she responded, yes, I'll see you then. And I literally left the store I was at because I was shopping and she had no way to get a hold of me. And I drove over to the school, which was a few blocks away. And I said, hey, I thought you might need a ride today. And she says, thank you for hearing me. I mean, it's that kind of stuff that we started doing. And it was a constant thing. It wasn't like once or twice. It was hundreds of times we did stuff like that.
Now, here we are. This is 2018. And I don't know when the Angel of Death was there, but we're talking about 2008, 2009 with Death number 1 and 2.
Right, it was still in 2009, just a few months later.
Okay, so here we are in 2018, 9 years later. Would you invite the Angel of Death today?
Oh, I wish I could have that luxury. No, I'm committed to be here now.
You're committed to be here now.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you this before the break. How did you meet Laura?
I had an office at Luminosity in town, and she took an office as well. And the owner of Luminosity kept telling me about this amazing person and how wonderful it was that she was joining our team. And I was like, okay. And then one day this lady walks into the office and I'm like, oh my God, I love you. I absolutely am in love with you. And I just want to know you forever. And she had a similar experience, and it's been good to go since.
And did you have any idea that you were going to write this book, or certainly set out to write 3?
When I had multiple sclerosis, I sat down to write a book about it afterwards when I was well. And so my goal had been to share a story. And, I was talking to people, at the time, and they said, well, nobody is going to want your story until you have proven that this stuff is real. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, so I had 150 pages of notes. I put that aside and I went to, okay, this is real. Let me start proving it's real. And I started working on people and doing different things. And so when I met Laura, my focus was on what we call the study. And the study was where I was taking this information I know, putting it in front of people and seeing what changed in them with this information. Because I need to prove this is real. I can't just tell you, oh yeah, this works. This happens for everybody if you just do this. So we were in the process of proving it when Laura showed up. And she's like, I want to share your story. I want to make sure it gets out there.
And there's another aspect to all of this. We're going to come back and pick up where we are now. But multiple sclerosis, which is not a joke. I mean, that is a very, very serious situation.
Yes.
But for you to free yourself of that, I need to understand exactly what you mean, and with MS, how did you know that? When were you diagnosed, and how does one free themselves of MS?
I was diagnosed when my middle daughter was 6 years old, and she was born in 1995. So somebody can do the math for me, because like I said, the math won't work. So it was the day of her 6th birthday party, and I had a doctor's appointment, and they're like, you have multiple sclerosis. And that was a little devastating, because I was hoping that I was just unwell and they were going to fix me. And they're like, it's degenerative, it's going to keep happening, and it's going to get worse. And that's what they left me with. So I thought, this is not okay. I have my family that I love so much, and I'm just not willing to let this happen. So I started trying everything. It was completely out of character for me, because a little reserved. I'm outgoing when people spoke to me, but as far as talking to strangers, I had no need to do that. And I just started talking to everybody that had anything to say, and they would say, oh, you should try this, you should try that. And before you know it, I was on a whole process of learning to self-heal and trying everything under the sun. Even if it sounded squirrely, too crazy, I tried it because I was going to heal. And there was one day where, because again, I'm very debilitated at the point that I'm working on this. And one day I woke up and I felt good. And everyone's like, what'd you do different? What'd you do different? And I was like, I did nothing different.
Right.
And then the very next day, I was just as sick as I'd been the day, 2 days prior. And I thought to myself, that's what started me looking. I thought, if I can be well for one day, then I can be well for the rest of my life. And there was a moment where I figured out how I got that day to happen. It was years later, after I've already died, when I've had all 3 deaths, and I'm listening to the book The Intention Experiment by Lynn McTaggart, an excellent book, by the way, guys. And in that book, she mentions about being able to set an intention and change your whole life. And I said to myself in that moment that I'm going to set the intention that I will never have to be sick from multiple sclerosis. And so I was doing the intention work the way it says to do it in the book. And that's when I realized, oh my God, that was the one day I got myself to work towards healing, because I did this intention now, and it affected me in the past.
How far did MS take you?
I was in bed 18 hours a day. I couldn't walk. I had to use an electric chair. And I couldn't take care of my family. I was in massive pain. I was maxed out on all the medications I could take to handle any of it. There was just nothing I could do. It was very debilitated. I was getting to the point that I couldn't breathe anymore because my lungs were starting to not function well.
And this amazes me, because I've met you, right? Mm-hmm. I've met you. You look amazing. Yes. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Now, what does the doctors? I mean, when you go, what did the doctors say at that point?
That's a good question, because I was in Tahoe telling my whole family, this is the first time they've seen me recovered from the MS, that I'm perfectly fine. And I'm over there like bragging like how great it is. And I'm trying to find other people that want to heal from MS, and thinking this is why I'm alive. This is my goal, is to help other people heal. And this is before I had the heart attack. And when I came back, I was seeing orbs and a lot of other crazy things. So I kept going to the neurologist to see if they could tell me if I had some kind of brain damage. And I went to more than one, and they said to me, we see here in your record that you have multiple sclerosis. And they ran a bunch of tests, and they said, we think you are misdiagnosed. So there you go.
That's their answer.
That's their answer. Not what did you do to heal, but we think you were misdiagnosed. Now, I might have thought that myself if I hadn't been diagnosed by one of the leading experts in the field. And I did get 2 different diagnoses the first time because I didn't really want to have MS. So I had more than one authority tell me that, yes, you have multiple sclerosis.
But you were reduced to an electric chair. And
yes.
You, this went from 2001 until 2008, 2009.
By 2008, I believe because that was when I went to Tahoe, was 2008, and I was doing very well. So 2007 to 2008 was the year of my healing from being able to barely do anything to being amazing.
Now let's just say it was misdiagnosed. Okay, well then what was the other diagnosis? Right.
Right. They didn't, and I asked that. So if I was misdiagnosed, then what was it that was wrong with me? And they said, we don't know. We can't tell. Because they did a bunch of tests because I thought I was crazy.
Right. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Now, the self-healing, was there any herbs? Was there anything that you were taking? Was there anything natural that you were doing?
Okay, so my self-healing is probably a little different than the traditional self-healers because, again, I didn't know anything about the esoteric world. So
sure.
The craziest things I did was going to a chiropractor 3 times a week, going to a DO who did not blood transfusions, but they did like vitamins through IVs to help clear my blood.
Right.
I went to a yogatsu therapist who told me that my problem was spiritual and then explained to me why and how to work on it.
Does that sound a little dangerous to you?
Dangerous? No, but it was weird.
Yeah.
But now I do stuff like that and people look at me like, are you sure this is going to work? I said, absolutely. It's going to work.
Let's take a break right here. An amazing life, Christine. Absolutely amazing. Let's take a break right here. Oh, man. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. I knew it was going to be like this. You guys buckle up when we come back. Of course, we've got to ask those questions. And now, what is she doing to help others? We'll do all of that next. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. A lot. But by federal law, we at GetTheTea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at GetTheTea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. Before we get back to Christine, this segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by New Mana. New Mana Emergency Food Storage, and every purchase over $100 gets you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Just click on the banners and use the promo code Jimmy. That's all you have to do, and you'll get that autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Everybody wants one. You know you do. New Mana Emergency Food Storage. Now, Christine.
Yes.
Let's do this with all...
Oh, hey. Laura pointed something out. Can I interrupt? Because, that's what I do in life.
Yes, step right on in.
She said to make sure that people know that my MS was not just slightly diagnosed. I had plaques in my brain that were in the MRI. There was no question that it was MS plaques. And that's why I was so debilitating, because there were so many plaques in my brain. My brain couldn't function correctly anymore.
Are they still there?
I have a defibrillator now, so I can't get an MRI to find out.
Oh, that's right. You can.
Right?
Oh, man.
Very interesting, right?
I didn't even think about that. Well, there's a plus side to that. You don't have to hear that machine.
True, I know. It was difficult the first time, but man. I don't think it'd be too bad now.
I don't dig MRIs. I don't like those machines. Too big, too loud, too noisy, and claustrophobia. But now, things start to change for you. Today, you are a teacher. Today, you have all of this gifts and knowledge. How did you start to acquire that and start to use this to help others?
So it's very interesting. I wasn't willing to work with living people because I was still very private back then, and how to talk to people about this stuff that didn't seem real. So I picked something safer, and I just started working with the dead. And it wasn't that I intended to work with the dead. They just started showing up. So I feel like the universe kind of had my back on this one. And I found that they needed help crossing, they needed help with different things, and I was able to learn stuff from their experiences and how we could make those changes here with the living. And over time, I gained the confidence and I gained the expertise on how to move energy, and that's how it began.
How does that happen? And I'm saying because I'm sitting here thinking, when you start to understand that you have these gifts and this talent, how do you go through that process? How do you recognize what is going on?
Well, one of my kids already had a stronger talent than me at the time. And she came to me one day and said, Mom, there's this guy who keeps throwing things at me. And I said, well, did you tell him to stop? And she's like, I did, but he's still doing it. Well, it wasn't a living person. It was a spirit that was throwing things at her. And I had seen him and thought he was a live person because I went to pick her up from school one day and I fell asleep in the car for a minute. And I saw her walking across the crosswalk to get to where I was parked. And I had seen him in my sleep walking behind her. And so I described him to her and she said, yep, that's him. Can you get him to stop? So I started talking to him. He said, I died and I need some help. And he had me go to the funeral home and talk to his family. He had me go to his viewing. I mean, he kept pushing me and wouldn't stop. And the only reason I kept going was because I was trying to help my daughter. Because who am I to go talk to people's relatives when they're dead? When I'm thinking, this is too weird. Nobody's going to accept it. But when I went to the viewing, he's like, those two, go talk to those two. So I walked over to these two teenage girls and I said, hi, this is going to sound really weird, but I know this person who died and he's talking to me and he told me to talk to you guys. And they were like, oh, and they were his best friends while he was alive.
No way.
Yeah, and so there's no chance I would have known that. Who's going to go pick out at a viewing? How are you going to know who's the friends and who's not? Everybody's there grieving. Everybody's upset. So I had a long conversation with them about how he had died, and he was very upset because he said to me, I didn't mean to die. It wasn't on purpose. And then when I talked to them, they said, yeah, they weren't sure if it was a suicide or not. And I said, no, it absolutely was not a suicide. He did not mean to die. And so we had that conversation. I said, hey, here's my contact information. If anyone else in the family has questions, just have them contact me. Well, the girls messaged me back saying, no, the family's not okay with this and they don't want to talk to you. I was like, great, no problem. I'm happy not to talk to anybody. And I'm like, I did my part. And he's like, no, I'm not done. This is not okay. And then a couple days later, it's the funeral. I showed up at the funeral and he's like, that person, that's who you have to talk to. And I'm like, okay, but how about I talk to your parents? Because aren't they the people that are upset? He says, no, her. And so I followed this girl and I'm like, I can't really go talk to her. It was just too uncomfortable. And the two girls saw me again and they said, hi. And I said, hi, I know this is very awkward and I shouldn't be here because you told me the family didn't want to talk to me, but he's here and he keeps telling me to go talk to that girl. And they told me that was his big sister who actually raised him because his parents were always gone. And so when I thought I should talk to his parents, that's who he was pointing me to. And I thought it was really, really interesting that all this stuff just kept being proved to me that what I was hearing and what I was communicating with the dead was real. And he ended up spending so as the energy is degrading, they start to die on a different level. And so he spent 2 days in and out of my home as his energy degraded. But I think that's enough of that story. We'll get too bogged down with all the details.
What, do you know how crazy this sounds?
Yes, I do.
I mean, seriously. And for you, I mean, it sounds crazy to me. A good crazy, I should say. But for you, were you thinking, man, am I nuts?
Yeah, and like I said, I did it for my daughter more than for me. And if I didn't have the confirmation, because I went to a couple of therapists. Sure. I went to, like I said, I had brain scans done and different things, x-rays and different things to see if I had brain damage because of the heart attack. And everything came back fine. That's
incredible. And I wanted to talk to you about more about this, about the channeling aspect. And, suddenly having the responsibility of being, a medium or an intuitive. Did you know that this is what was happening?
No, I didn't. Because again, I had no experience with that. I do think this too was purposeful because even now I'm very protected from a lot of things that other people experience. And I was told not to read any of the books I kept wanting to pick up there was a couple that I could pick up and they'd be like, yeah, that's fine. You can read that. But there was a lot of conditions that were happening. And again, I'm talking to people that aren't really here. And these 3 light beings showed up, and they taught me how to do hands-on energy work with others. Yeah, it's a little weird, but it's my story, and I can only share it as my point of view.
A real-life ghost whisperer.
Oh, yeah. I did watch that show after the fact, and I was like, oh, somebody knows some of those things in that show. I'm like, somebody knows, because that is accurate.
Now, okay, you're going to be up at Soul Tech. You're going to be teaching up there. We're going to talk about that in just a bit, but is this aspect of things something that you can teach, or is this a gift for very few?
No. Everybody can learn what I do. This is my 100% belief, and that's why we were doing the studies, was to give people information and some of the techniques that I use and what I do with it, and to see how it affected their lives. And everybody came back with something unique and special. It was not somebody didn't just say, oh, I can't do anything. It was always, oh my God, you won't believe this experience I had.
How do you turn it off? How do you turn it on?
That was hard. Before I ever died, I had an experience where I was tired of feeling all of the empathic stuff.
Right.
Because, again, I was sick all the time from this. And one day I just said, you know what, this isn't real, and I'm done with it, and I don't want anything to do with it. And I woke up the next morning with no connection. And at first I was like, oh, this is so pleasant. I never even knew I was being impacted with all the stuff I was. Because this was the first time my life had ever been quiet, ever.
What would happen when you walked into a crowded room?
So sometimes I would feel like I was going to pass out, and I'd have to go outside. My body temperature would rise. I would get dizzy a lot. I would feel a lot of physical pain. Nauseous was a very common thing for me.
Right. Yeah, because when I met you, we had hundreds of people. You saw what my life was like. Right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
It's nuts. It's completely nuts. Well, you're sitting next to me through that madness. So,
yes.
I mean, are you able, at that point when you were sitting next to me, and there are literally hundreds of people around us, were you able to, now you can shut it off and you're not hearing the clutter or seeing the clutter?
Okay, so I don't shut it off, because what happens if you shut it off? So like if you do these protection spells and other things, is you start to stagnate your energy. So that's the first thing I want to help other people learn, is if you shut it off, that's not solving your problem. You're just making your problem bigger, because it's going to explode in your life later on. So I learned how to go into heart center and expand white light throughout my entire body and just push it to the edge of my skin. And what that does is it doesn't allow anything that I don't need to pass into my space, into my physical body. So I'm still connected. I still know what's going on and on that side of the world, but it can't impact me in a way that I'm not willing to have happen. So you learn about individuation, how to separate and be connected fully. And you also learn to, when the stuff is coming in that you do want to hear, to become self-aware again. So like at that convention in LA, I was saying no a lot, because again, I wasn't well. So I said no a lot more than I normally would. There were a few people that walked up and I'm like, no, you're here for me, and I need to make sure I talk to you, and this is why. So there was that type of experience, but mostly I was very, very stabilized, very grounded, holding my own energy and knowing what's mine and what's not.
I have listened a lot to different EVPs and recordings. Steve Huff and his spirit box, where he is communicating with spirits. And I get the overall general impression of a place that I really wouldn't want to visit. It seems like it's sad. These souls and these spirits are lost. Maybe they don't even know where they are at or why they are there. Is that who you are communicating with? And do you have that general feeling too that I get from these communications?
Okay, so there's many different people we're communicating with, and the particular group you're talking about are the ones that had unsupported deaths. So what happens if, in the death process, if you have somebody else who witnesses your death on an energetic level, not just like sitting next to your bedside, but if they come and they connect with you and they experience and they see your life flash before their eyes, you get support. So what happens if somebody is dying and they don't have that support, then they're lost, they're stuck. And those are the people that in the beginning, those are who I was helping. And so now sometimes we go through, and again, the One Light series is going to help explain some of these things. So my grandfather's death was a supported death, and he had a different experience than the people you're talking about.
So when if you don't have a body to come back to, and death is extremely sudden, where you don't even know that it happened, and you don't have the opportunity to come back, whatever, your body's been separate, it's no longer a body anymore. I don't want to get into those kind of thoughts or details, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? And they are just, 1 second here, the next second gone, and they don't have the opportunity to come back.
Right. So there are those type of traumatic deaths where those things happen, but there's also just a regular person dying of old age who didn't have the support, who didn't get to go through their life and understand what truly happened. It's not that they have to change anything in their lives. They have to understand how they held things apart from their truth. And it's getting to the reality. And that's why we're trying to, instead of you having to experience this after your death, we want to show you how to clear all of this now while you're still living. There's no point in having to struggle when it's time to die. You shouldn't have to be wandering around looking for somebody to help you. And in history, there was a lot of people doing this type of work, a lot of support. And it's just over the last few hundred years that has declined.
And this will be part of your presentation and classes up at Soltech?
Some of it will, yes. We're going to go into a lot about empaths, intuitives, telepaths, explain the differences, how to recognize what you're doing with it, how to support you in ways to use it in your success versus like I was at the beginning, an empath that had no control. We're going to show you methods and information on how to deal with this and be successful.
How do you teach channeling?
That's another one of those long stories.
It is a long story, but it is possible. I'm hoping that it is, because I definitely want to explore this for myself.
Right. So with our first study, what we did is we took some basic concepts about what life was and what your perception is. And we taught these concepts to people. And when they cleared their perception and they were able to recognize how they are self-victimizing, then channeling became automatic.
Explain.
Well, your brain and your mind have to work together for channeling to be functional. And when you're in fight or flight and you're in fear all the time on some level, even if it's just a minor level, then you're constantly in your brain. And if we show you that the damage that you're doing to yourself is not necessary, for instance, if you're always afraid that somebody's going to be upset with you, and that's your perception, then you're locked into fight or flight, and you will not be able to channel. When we teach you what you're doing to yourself and how not to do it, now the brain and the mind can connect fully, and channeling is natural.
And the channel, okay, now I'm so interested in this, but I feel like there are different aspects to this, in that I always imagine channeling like a network. The universe is out there. It's electronically connected. And it's where you're going to go on that cell phone network is who you're going to communicate with. Right? Because we have the possibility of extraterrestrial races, or the Council of Light, or a lost loved one, a mother, a father, a brother.
Yes.
There's that part too as well. Am I wrong in looking at it that way?
No, I agree with you. So I just call it they as a general term. Like they could be everyone you just mentioned and more. And being able to hear them is the same. It's like learning different languages, but with practice, you get good at the one that you're interested in. So for instance, in the beginning, hearing dead people, that's who I was talking to. That's the language I learned first. But there was also other people's spirit guides that would come in and say, hey, this person died. I was unable to help them. This is what's going on with them. And can you fix this for me? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And so I did that. So I'm then talking to other people's guides. And again, it's just another language that when you practice something enough, it becomes familiar. And so now one of my talents is to be able to help somebody clearly identify what it is they're hearing so that they recognize their talent. Once you recognize it, then the change happens quickly. I know you asked a different question than I'm answering, and I don't know where to go from here.
You're spot on the money.
Okay.
And now I'm going to go into this zone. I want to get as much of this in as I can before we run out of time. There are some channels and mediums out there, when I listen to them without naming names, I know that they're full of crap. Right? There's that part. There are other channels out there in mediums when I listen to them, and my mind is blown. I cannot believe what I am. It is just so great and so amazing.
So we have a connection. We have a connection to the information already. And so you can feel when people are being unauthentic and when they're actually connected to that higher truth.
So tell me the truth, Christine. Do you ever go, okay, this is BS?
With other people talking? I don't mean to be rude, but yeah, there's some times where I can tell that. And I don't see, here's the thing. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I don't think they're trying to mislead people, because it starts out, they're connected, absolutely. But people don't understand how the brain works. And what will happen is their brain, if there's something missing, so there's nothing to be heard, the brain automatically starts filling things in. And you have to, that's one of the things we're going to teach at ASETI, is how to be aware what part is the real intuition and which part is your brain filling in things that you need to be, you can just stop and be quiet and be still and get the rest of the truth, versus the brain saying, bleh.
Right. And then, when there are moments, and we've all done this, I'm not the only one, so, but there are moments when I've seen some of these famous channelers, spirit mediums, asking questions that I'm sitting there answering myself too. Right. And that's where I lose interest. Right. I immediately check out. And then there are others where it is an obvious connection and something real that is going on. And you can tell, you can see the difference. So when you say they're not doing it, that they're being misleading, I think there are some out there that are really doing it, not only misleading, but for the money too as well.
Well, I would have a little bit something to say about that again, that I don't think they start out with the intention of misleading. Sure, there's people that do that, but I don't believe anybody starts off from a bad place. And when they do start doing that, again, I would say if we go to everybody's doing their best all the time, they want this change for the world. They may not be truly channeling something in that moment, but they want this change, and they're giving their opinion to an audience who's listening, and they're doing their best to bring this world along to a better place.
Okay, fair enough. I'll go with that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always going to see the best in people. It's going to be really hard for you to get me to do anything else.
Yeah, you're the glasses half full. No, I'm totally with you on that. I'm serious. I have seen and witnessed some channeling that has absolutely freaked me out. And I'm just so.
It can be fun, right?
Well, I want to learn. And the other part with learning is you can go from being on the fence or the side of skeptic to, okay, this is how this works. Oh.
Yeah, we never talked about that, how skeptical I was. I was already healing broken bones before I gave up being a skeptic.
I don't even know what that means. What?
I was probably 3 years in healing people before I finally let go of my skepticism.
How do you heal bones? What do you mean?
Well, I channeled how to do it. There's some darkened light inside the bones that's separating it. And so, for instance, a break that has constant pain is because the light is so bright that the darkness is stuck. So there's ways to go in and undo things, and then the bone just is fine. There's my mother broke her arm once, and this has been not too long in the past. It happened just before I met Laura, because that was the first book I was going to write. And then she said, but you had this experience and this experience? And I was like, yeah, because we were first going to write a book about how to heal. And then she's like, well, no, let's start with this story. It's more fun. So, but when my mother broke her arm, the first thing we had to do was go in and see, okay, she's in massive pain. She's 75 minutes away from a hospital, and she's waiting for an ambulance to get to her. And it's going to take that long because she's out in the middle of nowhere. And I'm on the phone with her, and she doesn't even remember the conversation. That's how much pain she was in. And I'm like, okay, Mom, so what happened? She strong-armed the ground with her hand and shattered the bone, the upper half of the bone between the shoulder and the elbow. And so the first thing we do is we go in and we find any of the mental and emotional issues she had in place at the time of the injury. That's the first thing we want to release, is because the brain is controlling stuff it shouldn't be controlling. As soon as you do that, pain drops dramatically. Then from there, we start looking at, okay, so again, where's the light at? Where's the dark at? Where's the cellular structure? How do we work with the DNA? What do we do to repair what's going on? Okay, the body, I asked the body, because you can talk to the cells just like you talk to anything else once you learn the language. And I asked the cells, okay, what's going on? Well, we're bleeding too much. We need to stop the bleeding immediately. That's what we do. We shut down all the vessels that are bleeding that shouldn't be. And it's a step-by-step process. We just keep going and asking the right questions and finding the answers.
Your mom didn't go, man, I broke my arm. Can you quit being silly?
No, she knows who I am. And she's like, can you help me? She's barely able to speak. And I'm like, Mom, are you in too much pain to talk? And you just hear, because she can't even speak yet. She shattered her arm. And there's a lot more to this story, but I'll save it for Isetti to tell you.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Isetti, but I'm not going to let you go just yet. You know why?
Why?
I haven't forgotten about the pyramids. So this is what I would like to do. I want to keep you for about 10 minutes of overtime after this commercial break. And I want the short, I'm watching Twitter here. Church, don't forget about the pyramids. You can do the short story. And this has been popping up. So let's go. I'll take the short version, but I'm very
I'll do
curious.
My best.
I'm very curious. And when you said that you were shown the history, right? The history of us. How far back did that history go?
The beginning. The very beginning.
The very beginning of what?
The formation of the planet itself. The Big
Really?
Bang,
okay.
Which I didn't even believe was real, just so you know. I wasn't certain that science had that right.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, well, I said 10 minutes. It might be 12. That's incredible. So let me look at, okay, I've got 30 seconds. You're saying, wait a minute here. Hold on. Are you saying that the Big Bang didn't happen?
No, I didn't think it did until I saw the proof of it. Then I was convinced.
Of the Big Bang or how the universe was formed?
The Big Bang and how our universe was formed.
Okay, 15 seconds. Did you get a view before the Big Bang?
No.
Oh, see, that's what I always trip on.
Oh, I never even thought to look. I assumed that was the beginning. Now I'm going to have to go look at that, aren't I?
There had to have been something before.
Well, you always think that, but...
Yeah. See, that's the way my brain works. Let's take a break right here. When we come back, I want to know what's the deal with the pyramids. So I'm going to get as much into that as I can. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. Now, her book, and you can go check it out, is Death, Awakening to Life. Her website is ChristineContini.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. More with Christine after this short break. Stay with us.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numanna banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Christine Contini. And we discussed her book tonight, Death Awakening to Life. It's the first of 3 books, and she will be teaching up at Soul Tech at East Eddy Ranch. And we have some tickets left. It's about to sell out. You can go to soultechgathering.com and get registered, and we'll see everybody up at East Eddy. Truly a magical place. Christine, I want to discuss the pyramids, and this is for me. It's one of my favorite subjects on the show. But have you been to East Eddy Ranch?
No, I have not.
Do you know what a bucket list situation you're about to go through?
You know, I talked to Rita about it, and it sounds amazing. I'm very much looking forward to it.
And you, with your background and your connections to the universe, get ready. That's all I got to say. Just get ready. It's so much fun, and I went through a couple of very personal experiences up there that I can't explain, but very, very profound things that I'm sure that East Eddy had a lot to do with it, but also I wasn't in control of it. You know, that was the thing. I was grabbed, and it was cool but frightening at the same time, because you hear people talk about this, and that's one thing where you're going to pursue it, right? It's something that you're what's the word, manifesting, and but for me, no, I was definitely coming from a very cocky outlook on this, where, like, whatever, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really was. And I walked away from that going, well, okay. I need to respect this a bit more. And I truly do, and I can't wait to get back up there. You're gonna love it. Now,
awesome.
Now, so you're shown the history of everything. I find that as compelling as it gets. And I have often said, time travel. If I was able to, dial in a machine and go somewhere, there's a few places I would go. I don't know if I would go to the crucifixion. I don't know if I would experience that, but certainly I would want to know how the Great Pyramid was built. I would like to go back and check that out. What were you told? What were you shown?
So I was shown more of the destruction of Egypt, not the building of it. I was shown that it was very green, very lush. Everything was very advanced. It was a great place to be. And then somebody came along and the war of control began. So the war over control is what's going on outside of the planet. And there's two factions as far as I can tell from the work I've done and the questions I've answered that people have asked. One is that free will, the way we currently live, that this is our salvation, that this is what we all have the right to, and that's why we're here. And then the other is the belief that we should be basically children and told what to do, and that's how we'll have our joy and our happiness. So you have the two sides that have their different point of view, and I can't say one's right or wrong. I believe that they both are genuine and they care about us, but I personally am on the side of free will. And what I saw about the pyramids was there became a point where they were told that, hey, this is going to happen, and the way that we can stop this advancement is for you to give us your power. So people gave up their own energetic power to be ran by a leader who would then take that power and use it for the whole community's good. And that's how it started out. Very genuine, very caring. Everybody's trying to save everyone's life instead of just a few people that could have been saved. And I understand that, and I believe in that. But then what happened next was that people couldn't handle that power. And this darkness, this dangerous part of themselves suddenly came to the surface. And the people who were guiding the group started to usurp the power in a negative way. Again, leaning towards this is going to be controlled. We're going to make sure that this life goes this way. And I was out of body looking in the past in Egypt, and there were people sitting inside of the pyramids in these chambers where the light came down into the pyramid. This is before they were capped. And they were sitting in there, and they were the ones controlling the light. And these beams of light would come as they pulled everybody's energy in, and the beams of light would come out the top of the pyramid. Now, what was actually going on with that part I don't have consciously anymore. But there was the people there did not even want me there. They were like, you need to go back to your time. They were very angry that I was there because they were doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. And I absolutely was of the mind that I'm going to interfere. And they told me that if I did interfere, that my existence, my family line would be gone. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go home. and I went back to my body. It was very clear that, again, that this started as something good. And the corruption that happened brought the destruction of the entire civilization the way it was known. And this was a long time ago. This was not like, I can't say it was 23, 25. I'm talking about more thousands of years than what we have information on.
What was the use for the pyramid for them then?
So the structure of the pyramid gathered the energy so it could be sent in a beam of light.
For what purpose?
To destroy the others that were attacking us. And I've never said that out loud, Jimmy. I don't know how you got me to do that.
Right. It's my job.
Right.
It's my job. But but it's original. So what you're saying is, and it makes a lot of sense if I'm understanding you, that its original use and purpose was not what they were using it for towards the end.
Correct. So in the beginning, energy came into the pyramid and was dispersed to the community.
Right.
Everybody pulled their energy through this way. And it was the location that they needed to. So on the grid line, it was lining it up. You're sending things through space and time. You've got so much space to get this right. So that's, I believe, why they have them lined up the way they are.
When you arrived there, did I just interrupt you? I apologize if I did.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. When you arrived, the pyramids were already there. Did you have any idea of what time you were there? Okay. Well, for instance,
there were flying cars. I know that. So it's way before we have our records, because I've never heard of anyone talking about flying cars.
Here we go. Okay. Now that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So we have the traditional Orthodox view that the pyramid was built in 2650 BC or whatever. I don't buy into that. But I don't think there were flying cars in 2650 BC. But if we back up, were you there 10,000, 20,000 years before this traditional view of 2650 BC?
I would have to say it was about 4 to 5,000 years before.
And who had these flying cars?
Everybody.
No, I mean
the Egyptians had them.
The Egyptians. Atlanteans. Was it another?
Okay, so now see, this is why it gets too complicated, because the Atlanteans were the ascension to here to our planet. The ascension is real. And it's happening here. And this is where we went astray and why we're no longer on target for what we were supposed to have. And the goal of the Wanderer's Handbook and the work that I'm doing is to bring people in alignment so that we can get back to the path that we were on.
That is fascinating. Is there, okay, when you were there, did you get a chance did you look at the Sphinx?
No, it wasn't there.
Oh, the Sphinx wasn't there. So the Sphinx was built after. Fascinating. Okay, now what was there? Were you exposed to who was running things? Was it a pharaoh? Was it a god? Was it Thoth?
I was not visually exposed, but I could feel. And the pharaohs were not in place yet. The pharaohs came later the prophets, I guess you'd have to call them. Who is it that spoke to the pharaohs that gave them the direction to go?
Well, it could have been Thoth. I mean, if we are going with the ancient gods of Egypt before the first dynasty, where that knowledge came from, I'm going Thoth.
No, I don't feel that is the right name. So unless you got a few other names to throw at me, I can't really say.
Oh, this is great. You and I need to talk off of the air. Okay.
Right?
Okay. So, that ancient knowledge that was there, that built the pyramids, when you were there, were those pyramids the same color? Do you remember the 3 pyramids? Were they 3 different colors?
They were functioning, and yes, they were basically the same color. They were a little more, the word is enlightened, but that's not actually what I can translate into English. So they were, this is it, Jimmy. You're going to make it too hard. It's too complicated.
Well, yeah. See, these are answers that we are all trying to get. And what I mean by that is this. There isn't a historical record that is written that explains any of this. And there isn't an Egyptologist out there that will tell you that they know for sure, because they do not. And all we can do is speak to people like yourself and look at the evidence and try to figure out what the true uses were for, when it was built, why it was built, and who built it. And we're trying to figure that out. And
right.
And I listen to everybody.
If you can make the time when we're in East City, I'll channel some of that for you.
Oh, man. Promise? Is that a pinky promise?
Absolutely, because
Okay.
so if somebody has the right to know something and they ask me the question, I've got the answer for them. That's one of the nice things about my gift is I can answer any question. If you have the right to know the information, I can get it for you.
I had one. Speaking about this, I had one question from earlier. I didn't get a chance to get to. When you are speaking to dead people, when you're speaking to them, are you able to pick and choose who you are communicating with, or do they come to you?
No, in the beginning, they all came to me, and there was a huge group of them. And as I cleared them out, then I gained an authority. And so I'm completely in control with who I speak with now.
Elvis?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So again, there's lots of those kinds of things. If you want to ask me those questions, I won't do it on the air, but I can answer those questions. And if you want to share later, it's up to you.
Now, if I brought up, and we'll do this privately, and I can't wait to do this. If I brought up, somebody that you didn't know, right? And I'm talking about a celebrity or something, but somebody that you wouldn't know their background on, but I did. Could I ask very, very specific questions?
Yes, and I actually have a way because, like I said, the brain can interfere with the process. What I would have you do, if you want very specific answers, is I would have you get the questions all the way down to a yes or no. And you won't ask me the question out loud. You'll just think the question, and I'll give you the answer.
Shut up.
It's easier that way because, the brain likes to make things up. It likes to fill in the blanks. And so to get you the truth, it's easier for me to do it that way.
And even though I've never done that before?
Oh, absolutely. I do it for people all the time. It's very simple. You just have to formulate the question, and I'll be able to feel if you're asking the question correctly or not, even though I don't know what the question is.
Oh, no way. Can I do it like right now?
You're going to put me on the spot. You can, but I might not be connected because we're not working right now.
Hold on. Let's just mess around. All
right.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking of two letters in a name. There you go.
Oh, see, that's not what I was talking about. You
No,
have to
hold
ask
on.
a yes or no question.
Okay. But I'm sending it to you really strong. Everybody's looking at me on the camera right now going, Church,
I
you've
got
lost your
3
mind."
letters, T, H, and R.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know if those are correct, but if you're sending strong, that's the letters I got.
You are messing with me. Just tell me you're messing with me. How do you do that? How do you? What?
When we teach day 2, we're going to talk about how all that is done because sending and receiving is a natural gift we all have.
That's crazy.
So you're going to tell me who it was?
If I said it on the air right now to everybody, I was.
It's not so easy when the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah. You got 2 of the letters correct. And I don't know what the H and the R. Okay. I don't know what the T significant of it is, but I was thinking, I was thinking heavy metal roads. Okay. And for you to go HR out of the gate, and I was concentrating on that, and I wanted, and so for you to say THR, okay, why did you say THR?
The T was the alpha signal that took me to the HR. So that's another thing you'll learn, and when we do the course is there's beta and alpha signals, and they lead you to the path. So sometimes you may start off on the wrong foot, but if you're following the path and not trying to fill it in yourself, you will get it.
Wow.
So the T, the capital T, popped up because that was my alpha to follow, and then the H and the R were the feeling.
That's that was pretty cool. And I
actually got the R first, but I was unwilling to see the H, so I got the T to go with the H, so I'd be willing to say it.
Well, and the R was what I put in the front of my head.
Yeah, so I got it that way. Good
wow, man, that's cool. Wow. I'm the hair. Everybody's watching me. I'm just rubbing the hair on the back of my neck. That was pretty cool. Christine, you have a gift.
Oh, thank you.
You have a gift. You have a gift. I'm so excited about ECETI, and and we'll see you up at ECETI. And I can't even believe it. Do you realize it's in like 6 weeks?
I know, it's coming too fast. Now, I'm going to be there for 8 days. So if you can make it in early or stay a little later, there'll be time to do some fun things.
Oh, yeah. There will be time for that. I wanted to ask you really quick. Today, and we can certainly talk about this later, but I would like for you to put your mind to this a little bit, both you and Laura. Today, President Trump announced this Space Force. And I don't know if you watched the news today, but he said...
I never watched the news ever, sorry.
Okay, so he announces the sixth branch to the Pentagon, to the military, a Space Force. A Space Force, right? Well, my question is why, right? What does he know that we don't? So I want you to think about that.
But I already got your answer.
Okay, go ahead.
There's going to be an opportunity to reach out and touch someone.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of leaning on this.
You can feel it, right?
Yeah.
You don't even have to think about it. You can just feel it.
It was a bizarre announcement today. And so you have, this is what I said, we have the whole world, out there listening to this announcement. And I would bet a dime to a dollar that just about everybody, when they heard that, thought E.T., alien invasion, or there's something out there that... You know what I mean? I think it's very easy to lean that way. But why else? I mean, there isn't any other reason to put a Space Force out there. What, to shoot rocks? Right?
Right. So maybe that Hubble telescope has more information than they've been sharing with us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's 100% correct, Christine. What is it that they know? What is it? We know what they know.
I know a lot of stuff, and I know that things are happening, and it's time. I'm good with it.
It seems pushing in that direction, almost in an uncontrollable way. And we've all wanted this kind of announcement and this kind of information coming out of Washington, but it's like, be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's going to go back to who's going to be able to stay aware and who's not. And it's going to be, can you handle what you know to be true? Or do you keep wanting to hide behind the veil?
Okay. Now, I'm going to hit you with this, and I'm just going to have fun with this. I hope you're not reading Twitter. But one last question before you go, which is this. Does life continue after death?
Always. It's just the beginning.
Okay.
This is just our beginning.
I'm thinking of one more letter.
Oh, no.
One more letter. Give me one letter.
I'm a little worn out.
Give me one letter. I'm going hard.
I can't. I just can't.
Okay. I'm going to tell you what the letter was.
Okay.
S.
Oh, so I did get the S, but I was afraid to be wrong, so I was just not willing.
Christine, enjoy the rest of your evening. Fantastic conversation tonight. I expected this, but we got all of that and more. And I can't wait to speak to you soon, but safe travels with you and Laura up to ECETI. We are going to have the times of our lives. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Christine Contini, everybody. Again, it's ChristineContini.com, and the book is Death, Awakening to Life. It is the first of 3 books. Head over to ChristineContini.com. The links are right there, and the book is amazing, and you need to go and read it. She does have a gift, and the gifts, I will pluralize that now. This announcement today from Donald Trump took us all by surprise. And the more that I looked at it today, I had to sit on it. I was watching the reactions. Yes, I got your emails, and I know that my take on it is a little bit different than what others are thinking. But my point is very simple, that this kind of announcement came from very careful strategic planning. I don't think that Trump or anybody would speak off of the cuff and just wake up this morning with this thought and have this announcement today. I don't believe that. And the question that I have is, with any branch of the military and what the military is used for and funded for, if we are talking about a space force, something is in the works. And when I say that, everybody, I don't care who you are talking to, it doesn't matter if they believe in UFOs or ET or not. They certainly have these thoughts, and they certainly watch the movies, and they've dealt with this their entire lives. And so when this kind of announcement happens as quick as it did, I think everybody immediately thought, okay, wait a minute here. Is there some grave situation? Is there something imminent? Is there something here? And is it negative? What is going on? I don't know what the knowledge is. I can let my imagination wander just like you. I don't know what that information is. But this seems pretty quick, direct, and planned and thought out. Now, we have talked about the secret space program. We have made references to things that have been in black budget programs. And of course, the X-37B comes to immediate play, right? So we know that the possibilities of this already been in place for a very long time, and that this announcement is because either the secret space program or the Space Force was about to be revealed, and so they have to announce it now that we are going to do this, and it would answer all of the questions about different projects, craft, ships, satellites that we will be building and put up there, that we could say that, hey, okay, this is part of the Space Force. So there's that aspect of it too. I think the narrative needs to be controlled. And when we have this announcement today, for all of us that may have been skeptical or questioning a secret space program or the need of a Space Force, or if it was in play, or Star Wars or Ronald Reagan, that this announcement today kind of answers a lot of questions for us. And I'm not comfortable with some of it. I'm completely not. It was an unbelievable day. Now, I said in my rant, and this is in my article that is posted over at onstellar.com. You can go and read it there. This now, for the first time, and I need to be very clear, this now, for the first time, when it comes to weaponizing space and having a Space Force, that now things are accountable. Budgets, staffing, personnel, technology, engineering, all of this, a mission statement, mission objectives, just like any other branch in the military, that is all now part of our public information. So now we are going to have, I assume, access to this, and we are going to know what the plans are for the Space Force. It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? We are in the craziest of times. I said this in the beginning of the show. I'll say it again. It seems like, indeed, that we are in the days of disclosure. Exciting. Exciting beyond words, but I think now we need explanations. We need explanations. And are we actually going to have it? Think about that. This is Fade to Black. I want to thank Christine Contini. One of the great conversations on Fade to Black. I think, I was going to say Laura Cantu last week was pretty amazing, right? Christine Contini tonight was all that and much more. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music Doug Aldrich. Intro Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And until tomorrow night, Chris Medina, Psychic, here taking your calls all night long. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Backley Tappy.